All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to call this meeting to order. It is 5:02 PM. All council members are present, town manager, town clerk, and town attorney. Our first item is public comment. Anyone here that would like to speak in public comment? Just, ma'am, come up.
Can I speak off my time for a moment? Because I want to have some things out.
Hand it to the clerk and she'll make sure that she gets it out and then,
There's only some signs on these two
Oh.
per person. Is this the same one?
yeah, we can, is it the same?
Before she does it, are these extras? Or? I think.
Will there be one?
I think we need one for Will.
Why don't you pass another one down this way? We
Yes,
just need one more down here.
This is different than what you're.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Just
No worries.
confusing.
Getting organized.
Yeah, just hand what you want to the clerk and she'll make sure we get it. Okay, well, let's do that. If you want to just go around that side over there, if you would, and then we'll call on who you've got to start speaking when she hands that out. So
Okay, great.
people signed up first. I didn't know someone already signed up.
Okay, so there's 4 copies here. Do I need another one?
We can
I
share.
We can-
understand. I dropped one off at the city, but or should say town, I never got a response other than from the assistant town manager.
We can-
And I did email.
We can share
everyone.
one, it's fine.
So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and get started when you get ready.
Go ahead.
Are
Yeah.
you? Okay, thank you. First of all, I know this is not a large crowd and there's.
You got to
not a
state your
lot of
name, ma'am,
people.
for the record.
My name is Susan Koch, and I'm a resident of Fort Myers Beach. I want to thank you all for your civil duty. I know it doesn't pay a lot respectfully, and you take your time away here, so thank you for this. So a lot of this may be directed towards the town council respectfully. So again, thank you on this important day in history for being here. I previously sent a copy of this correspondence and exhibits to the town council, and I only got one written response about taxes, and no one responded. I put a lot of effort into gathering my data, and I was looking for a thoughtful response. I'm here to dispute the town's previous vote and the town management's recommendation on the proposed 26% tax increase for the millage of Fort Myers Beach. This tax increase was allegedly based on the Lee County Properties Assessor claim that properties on Fort Myers Beach have increased in the value by 12% in the past year. Again, I'll dispute this claim. You will see in my presentation that I prove before you that this is simply not true and that sales on Fort Myers Beach have decreased by up to a whopping 88% since the 2023 investor grab after Hurricane Ian. Exhibit A. According to Google AI overview, the median sales price per square foot dropped by 9.98% year over year in May 2024 to Redfin. Additionally, Zillow reports that the average home value in Fort Myers Beach is down 10.7%. If you do the math, that's a whopping 20% in value dropped since 2023. Exhibit B. Feel free to look at that. The mic is off.
All right, hold on just a second. Josh, can you work on, if they
I can
can't hear?
speak, I'm fine. But if you need a microphone, that's fine as well.
They want to.
And people following along at home can't hear you.
I understand.
We'll try that other one.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
Are you there? Okay. Exhibit B. To quote Sunny106.3.com, local news, Fort Myers Beach housing market takes a hit. Single-family homes dropped 68% in 25. The housing scene at Fort Myers Beach has taken a sharp downturn. Just 38 homes changed hands in early 2025, a stark plunge from 2024. This marks a dramatic shift from the 119 sales recorded during the same stretch last May, as reported by Beach Talk Radio News. The slump affects every corner of the market. Vacant land deals crashed to just 8 sales this year, tumbling from 32 in 2024 and 66 lots in 2023. As summer starts, 132 empty lots sit waiting for buyers. This segment shows the steepest decline with an 88% sales drop since 2023. You've just extended the TTP program for another 2.5 years. If a town does not comply with FEMA floodplain rules, it faces suspension from the National Flood Insurance Program. This means residents can no longer purchase flood insurance, potentially losing federally backed mortgages and disaster relief.
Suzanne,
Yes,
Susan,
sir.
I need you to wrap up. Your time has expired.
I thought I had 20 minutes by,
No,
Town
you have 3
council.
minutes. You have 3 minutes. for
Okay.
Public comment.
well, then I'll just finish up my 3 minutes eloquently.
Your 3 minutes have expired.
Oh, they
that-
have?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it's my understanding that I had 20 minutes. So what I'll do is if you can let me know how much time I normally have and I'll come back.
You have 3 minutes during public comment. And
That's
there's another public comment at the end that you can also come back up for another 3 minutes if you'd like.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Go ahead, Amy.
I have Jackie Velasquez, and after Jackie will be Cliff Gallagher.
Good evening. I'm Jackie Velasquez. My concerns are the same as hers, but more so. I understand that the town needs money to operate, but I'm just trying to figure out what exactly is the town responsible for, like maybe Bay Oaks, the pool, side streets, of course, permitting and inspections is a big one. Newton's Beach, the mooring fields is a big issue with me because I understand that we are on a very down slope, losing on that. If they're not making us money, why are we, even taking care of those? But it seems like I know that Lee County gets 6% of the taxes that you guys, gather from all the empty lots and the residents left here. But, you guys bought all brand new pickup trucks. You just purchased a vac truck. That had to cost what, $1 million? I saw on your website that you are looking for somebody to run that truck for $25 an hour. That's about 50 grand a year plus benefits. And that person is going to need a crew. I mean, and then when they get that job done, what are they going to do? It seems like you have a lot on your payroll. And, the other thing I was very concerned about is, the 60 or 62,000 that you spent for a survey for, a retaining brick wall to go down the beach when you just spent all that money on turtle lights. Those little turtles aren't going to scale that. And, God's going to put that water where he wants it. It has a lot of power. So, I feel that with the raise of the taxes, although they may be minute, it is having an impact on us. And, why don't you incentivize, lower taxes, if anything, to get people to come in and build and buy these properties? I mean, even our, the residential is hurting and restaurants can't build. I mean, Fort Myers Beach is in a sad state, I will tell you, but I just want you to be mindful of us residents that are left here paying the bill, when you go to do your budget and what you're spending. Okay, and thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Cliff Gallagher, and after Mr. Gallagher will be Ellen Vaughn.
Hello, folks. I've been paying taxes here since 1989. That's when I bought the property we have. 4 of us went in. 1 of us died. 1 of us wanted out. The son of the person who died wanted out, and I paid him for his side of the property. That was the biggest mistake I ever made, because this tax assessor says, "You're new people. You owe us a complete reset on your taxes." and I appealed it to the VAB. And an inspector came and he says, well, I'll make a deal with you. We'll lower the assessment. And then I got my new trim notice. And the trim notice says, you're a new person here. You're the welcome stranger law for taxes takes effect with you. You know what the welcome stranger law is. Somebody new comes in, they hit them with maximum taxes on a property. And so even though I got an agreement to have this tax lowered, they came in and jerked it right back up. I went from paying $7,000 a year taxes on that property, and now they want close to $13,000 in 2 years. That's not right. And that's why I'm going back to the VAB. And that's why I'm here saying, you got to find a way to cut your spending. My taxes for the town are proposed to go up almost $400. Don't pay to have recycling picked up every day, every week. Don't pay to have yard waste picked up every week. Spread it out a little bit. In the wintertime, when nothing grows as much, maybe have it once a month. This is the kind of thing that you need to think about. It's kind of rough. The state of New Jersey, where I have my permanent home, says, you're over 65. We're going to take your real estate tax and we're going to cut it in half, 50%. They don't charge tax on retirement funds, 401k, or Social Security. I don't pay any taxes up there. But Florida says, come down here, we'll pay, we'll let you have a good deal on taxes down here. And it's not true. Okay?
Thank you, Cliff.
Thanks.
Sorry, Ellen Vaughn, and that's all I have signed up.
Good evening, Ellen.
Good evening, Ellen Vaughn. I live at 7500 Estero Boulevard, and I'm here to say that I like infrastructure, and I think you have a really tough job balancing a budget. I'm very involved with some of the organizations on the beach, and I really don't want to see their budgets cut because I think they are important to our quality of life, particularly the the Mound House and Bay Oaks and Newton Park. All of these things, the amenities that make us special. If we lose our amenities and our special things, then it will be very difficult to maintain a sense of community. So without further ado, may you make wise decisions.
Thank you, Ellen.
That's all I have signed up.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. That brings us to our public hearings. Our first one is a resolution 25-262 for the fiscal year 26 proposed millage rate. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach adopting the proposed ad valorem millage rate for the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida for fiscal year 2025-2026, commencing October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026, for the purpose of providing sufficient funds for the general fund, setting the second and final public hearing for Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 at 5:01 p.m. to adopt the final operating ad valorem millage rate for fiscal year 2025 and 2026 and providing an effective fee. Nancy, do we need to now open this and table it and then go to the next one and go back as we have done in the past?
You do, so you can basically discuss the budget to determine how much money you need in order to determine what the rate's going to be.
Okay, so we need to have a motion in a second to table this to move on to item B.
Yes, to go ahead and move on to item B.
All right.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor King.
Aye.
Counselor Safford.
Aye.
Counselor Woodson.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. Item B, this is Resolution 25-263, fiscal year 2026 tentative budget. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach adopting the tentative budget for fiscal year 2025-2026, commencing October 1st, 2025, and ending on September 30th, 2026, setting the second and final budget adopted public hearing for Wednesday, September 24th, 2025 at 5:01 PM and providing for an effective date. Joe?
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Onzik, the Finance Director for the Town of Fort Myers Beach. I would just like to begin by thanking Cassandra, our budget manager. She did really all of the work on putting the presentation together, and then our town manager and department heads for all of the input into all the data and the decision-making that went into it. And of course, the input from the town council members. So what we're starting with is just to kind of review where we're starting from. And so we simply moved forward in terms of like the actual resolution for the budget, the same budget that was presented at the budget workshop. So that's what this resolution reflects and what this presentation will start out. But then we went further than that. We went from where we started at the workshop, and then we have a series of proposals to present to you tonight for an alternate budget. So just to review where we started from, the overview of what we're going to be doing, we're going to show you where, I'm sorry, I must have pressed a button by mistake. Okay, we're going to show you where we started from with the budget workshop version of the budget. We're going to present the tentative adjustments, and then we're going to present the actual resulting budget. We're going to take a break and move into the fee schedule portion of the budget process, and then we'll come back and discuss the millage rate. So this is just kind of a brief overview of what we already presented to you at the workshop, just so you know where we started from. So this shows you the general fund budget, revenue and expenses by department. So the first column is the revenue, second column expenses, and then the last column is the difference between the two, the net. So this is where we started from. If you move all the way to the end, the second page, you can see that we had that deficit of $1.191 million that we then had the challenge to cover. Just as a reminder that regarding the bridge loan calculation, it's calculated, or the amount of bridge loan that we'll be using is calculated based on the 2022 revenues, which is pre-Hurricane Ian, except for ad valorem revenue, because there's a delay of 1 year. So the ad valorem is actually compared to the 2023 revenues. Any increase, and also a reminder, any increase in most fees will only reduce the amount of the bridge loan and it has no effect on the actual deficit. This is just to give you an
Joe,
update.
before you move on that, so
Yes.
based on what you just said there with the
Uh-huh.
fees, is everything you're presenting today, is it based on the current fee schedule that you have in front of us, or is it based on something that could change?
Well, there's only a few line items in here that are reflective of any kind of fee changes.
Okay.
So any fee changes would be additional revenues that would be coming into the town. It wouldn't necessarily change the deficit because it'll just reduce the amount of bridge loan, which is a good thing, but that's not reflective in the budget presentation today. The actual fee changes will be presented to you, but the dollar amount of the impact is not here yet. We don't have that calculated yet. Okay, so just as to give you an idea of where we stand with the bridge loan, so we started out with 11.9 million. We used 3,085,000 for the first year, FY23. We used 2,549,000 for FY24. We're budgeted to use 2,025,952 for FY25. It'll probably be lower than that once we complete the year and do our analysis. And then we're proposing to use in next year's budget 1.4 million. So that's a total of 9,271,000 of the bridge loan that will be used, leaving 2.6 million remaining. And as you can see, as revenues have been gradually increasing over the years since Hurricane Ian, the amount of bridge loan has also been reducing accordingly. Must be. Now, starting from that budget that was presented to you, these are the proposed changes to it based on individual line items that each of our department heads went through in order to help cover that 1.1 million deficit. So the first and the biggest change occurred in the Bay Oaks recreation area. This it might be easier for me. I'm not trying to figure out where I can look. That'll be clear. The first one is to remove 3.25 full-time equivalent part-time recreation aides out of the Bay Oaks recreation. That would save about $136,000. And our department head, Jeff Hauge, will be coming to speak to regarding the impacts of these cuts once we get through this slide, the couple of slides here. And he went through line item by line. I'm trying to find every possible way to save and to correct anything that may have been budgeted incorrectly. So 3,000 was cut from the cell phone expense. Water, sewer, stormwater charges, we reduced that significantly because the original budget was based on the actual expenditures that we had experienced that previous year, or I should say our current year. But that incorporated the costs of the temporary town hall trailer complex that was tied into the Bay Oaks recreational complex. And so that caused their bills to look higher than they normally would be. So we pulled that out. That's that $40,000 reduction for water, sewer, and stormwater. And then also from electric. Waste also has a reduction of $4,000. Equipment rental was eliminated, so that $1,000 that was set aside for that is gone. Repairs and maintenance was brought down to zero, saved $2,000. Promotional activities were cut down to $500, saving $2,000. Other services like athletic programs, the supplies and types of things that they would need for that was cut by $2,000. A major cut was made in terms of eliminating the budget for special events. So this would cover that $155,000 increase that was part of that $200,000 budget that was supposed to cover fireworks. And then the remainder was to cover such things as the Halloween event and the Easter egg hunt. Operating supplies were cut in half, to saving $5,000. Uniforms down to zero, saving $2,000. Emergency supplies, we added $500 to cover that. So that's all related to Bay Oaks. Here's the list that has to do with Mound House. You have the Mound House grant is an additional revenue line item that was not incorporated previously. That's a line item that doesn't affect the bridge loan calculation, so that will help the deficit by $20,000. The Mound House donations, same thing, that will help the deficit by $7,500 by including that in the budget. Janitorial services cut $3,000. Educational programs by $500. Pest control we're increasing that by $2,500. Publication and advertisements down $500. Cell phones down $3,000. IT. So you can see there's small but significant cuts when you add the total all up. So we got freight, printing, promotional activities, $7,000. Office supplies, $6,000. Educational supplies, books, training, water and sewer. And then we get down to personnel. This is a cut of 70. That would save $73,000 by removing the educational coordinator position that was budgeted in terms of the original workshop budget. Then there would be adding 3 maintenance workers for grounds and street, which would add $194,000 back into the budget that was originally cut from the budget that was presented to you for the workshop. This would restore those cut positions. And then Jeff
Joe,
would,
just 1 second.
yes.
Question on that public works maintenance,
Yes.
that's not really under the Mound House,
No,
correct? That's just in public works. That's
yes.
a totally separate bucket.
It is.
Okay.
It is. And how we tried to organize this was by like this would all fall under community services director. And so now Jeff would come up and speak to the impacts of this.
Okay.
Push. Good evening. My name is Jeff Hauge, Community Services Director. So thank you, Joe, for that. My services that I run as I direct are Parks and Recreation, the Culture Department, which is Mound House and Newton Beach Park, the Utilities Department, and Public Works. The majority of the cuts we did know and we heard from the council at our first budget hearing, our first talks that we had were to bridge that gap. Nationally, 24% of funds come from taxes, fees. The rest come from the government general fund. So we're no different than any other municipality, really. We're not here to make money. It's an amenity to the town, but we are going to make some significant cuts to bridge that gap. For Parks and Rec, we are going to cut a total of $436,850 off the budget. That'll bridge that gap a little more. It was 1.2 million, and we're cutting almost $440,000. One of those is the athletics coordinator position we cut. That's so when I talk about any of these cuts, a lot of them are going to have some impacts and risks for my department. And I'm just going to go through kind of what that would look like due to these cuts. So removing an athletic coordinator, we aren't going to have basketball leagues, volleyball leagues, pickleball leagues. Those will most likely all be eliminated. What I don't want to happen is that we make all these huge cuts and then our youth and teen coordinator has to take on all these leagues and everything. They are already short-staffed down at Bay Oaks. You'll see in a second, we'll have to reduce the hours that we have there, but and then youth leagues and clinics will probably be eliminated. We had some soccer leagues that were down there, basketball leagues. We used to have flag football that we wanted to bring back, and those most likely will not be able to happen at Bay Oaks because of these cuts. The 4 rec aides that we're going to cut, one full-time, 3 part-time, it's going to mean less hours for the rec center to be open. We won't be able to open like we were 7 days a week, the weekends, early mornings. I know we hear the residents loud and clear. They want to be open in the morning, but they also want us to be open at night. So we just can't do it with the staff that we have. And then when it comes to our after school and summer youth programs, it's just going to be a higher staff to youth ratio. Right now we run about a 1-to-10 ratio for one staff and to 10 kids, which is, I used to work nonprofit for the Boys and Girls Club. That's about average. When we make these cuts, it'll be one staff to about 18 kids. So it will be a significant impact and potentially impacting attendance. So
Jeff, before you go on,
Yeah.
go back just a little bit.
Mhm.
The cuts you said being open in the morning and being open at night, is that based on what your current staffing level is, or if these cuts were made, budgetary cuts were made?
we did have an opening for athletics coordinator that we hadn't staffed. So that would be one that we just cut. So that's actually the hours that we have now are really stretching us just to be open to what we are. So, 8 in the morning till 7 p.m. But these cuts, like we could be open on weekends if we had the rec aides. We had a lot more staff and, pre-Hurricane Ian to be open all these hours. And we were open pretty much about 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. On a normal year. So, these are actually openings that we had. We don't have to cut staff right now. We don't have to tell anybody that's currently working that their position is cut. These are openings that we had that we're going to try to fill. But now with the budget cuts, we won't be able to fill those. So any other
But-
questions about staffing before I go on to the next one?
Yeah, and Jeff, what about the thought process? We had a conversation about key fob entry, that type of thing. Are we saying that that's even off the table because there wouldn't be a staff member on site, or how?
No, just today, we kind of had some initial conversations, and what Councilor Woodson is talking about is having a key fob system like some fitness centers have, where you can go in without it being staffed. Some are open 24 hours, which I don't think we would be. It'd be more like 5 a.m. They could come in, and then we open up at 8 with staff, and then in the evening we'd probably be open till 10 or 11 o'clock, and we close at 7. So there'll be some additional hours for residents to come in and work out. We are trying to work that out with not only the insurance, with the liability that we might have, and then we do have some funds in our Parks and Rec impact fee that can pay for some of those improvements. So that wouldn't come out of the budget. Those are fees that we have to be using anyway. So it is a possibility. We're just in the very early stages of that. I did talk to our town attorney, and I'll just briefly, and we got to do a little more digging into liability on that one, but we are trying to accommodate the residents and the guests as much as we can with the limited staff that we're going to have. So yeah, that is one idea that we may have. So. And then special events. That's the big one. That's the $200,000 gorilla, Dan, Mayor Dan. Is that would be eliminating all of our special events. Obviously, the big ones are our elimination of 4th of July parade and fireworks, and our New Year's fireworks. When you look at the budget and you look at when we say, hey, we need, but it's 40,000 for the fireworks, 40,000 for the barge. That's 80,000, but you don't take into account all of our rentals. We have to rent, portable toilets. We have to rent dumpsters, lighting. We have to pay staff overtime to be here because it's usually on a holiday. We got to pay for the sheriff's services. We have to close the bridge. We have to pay the permit for the fire department. All that added up last year to about $155,000. And that's not including, that's a different line item too for sheriff's services. Some of the sheriff's office services came out of a different fund as well. So we do have other special events that it would definitely impact, the Halloween Fright Night, Easter, and other community events that we have for the public that we like to run. So luckily this year we had gotten some generous donations to do our Fright Night, but it would not be in the budget next year with these cuts. Any questions on special events? Okay. And then just overall program and operational funds, just reduce supplies and amenities, reduce youth programs after school and summer program supplies, elimination and reduction of summer field trips impacting attendance. Our, I guess in coordination or in contrast to a lot of summer programs, we give our residents a pretty good deal. They go on a field trip twice a week, one being a paid one to like Sunsplash or something, and then one to maybe like the library. So we try to do 2 a week. This would probably reduce some of that to maybe 1 every other week, depending on how the finances lay out. So it would probably be an impact on attendance that way, where we aren't providing as much as we had in the past for our residents and guests that come to our summer programs.
Jeff, with respect to those youth programs, are those youth programs means tested at all? Are they means tested?
How so?
In other words, more affluent folks could pay, some folks who are less affluent would be subsidized or helped?
Yeah, we have the one fee. The residents pay a lot less, and we'll go over that in the fee schedule when we get to it. But non-residents definitely pay more. We charge more, but we also have a scholarship program that we have to accommodate those people that cannot afford it. We have a kind of a scale of what they can pay.
So it's really based on resident, non-resident. It's not means tested?
No, not unless you're looking for some kind of assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about Bay Oaks or the rec department?
Jeff, you said those field trips. Is that the BOSS program that you're talking about?
Nope, those are the youth. So
just
during
youth.
our 8-week summer program for youth, they come all day. We're basically their childcare for the summer. We go on field trips just to get them out,
Got
getting experiencing different things that they may not with their families, and getting them just out and about outside, or just out of the gym,
Right.
for lack of a better word. But yeah, I mean those are pretty significant. Other programs that I've ran, they do a standard fee, and then they do almost like a field trip fee or an a la carte. We actually include that in all of ours. I think we tried to do the a la carte maybe a couple of years ago, but it wasn't necessarily received well. So we just had the one fee for the entire program. So they pay, I think it's like $125 or $150 a week, and that includes a nice field trip. But that also includes the staffing, the snack, use of our amenities. So.
Well, you can, when he's done, if you want to ask him a question.
we can do that. So that's kind of my impacts and risks for Bay Oaks, at least. Sorry, this might take a little bit because I have a few departments, but that was my for Parks and Rec. Mound House, again, we made $130,000 worth of cuts. One that's probably going to impact more so than others is another education coordinator. This is going to impact diminished or elimination of programs, including Mound House tours, kayak tours, youth programs, and field trips. We also used to go up to Heights and do a weekly program with, maybe not weekly, but every other week to our beach school kids. That would be eliminated as part of this as well. But it wouldn't eliminate all kayak tours, but instead of doing a couple a week, would probably be down to one a week, and where that probably gains a lot of our revenue. Mound House tours, we wouldn't have as many tours because somebody would have to sit at the front desk. And then it would also eliminate proactive outreach and promotion of the Mound House in Newton Park. We've really gained a lot of traction over the past year, working with Adam and the Mound House staff to go to festivals, get out there, getting our name out there, having a tent. Okay.
Don't even think it.
Didn't. I'm just gonna keep going. We had tents and booths at these festivals, and it gained a lot of traction as far as putting our name out there. A lot of times, I think we all know that Mound House is, a lot of people don't know where it is, but we really gained traction in the last year, and our attendance is actually showing it. We are up as far as the grounds and tours. And then reduced hours at Mound House and the museum store. We just have to reduce when it's open, when the store is open, which will also reduce revenue. It'd also be visitor services. We are planning on moving our visitor services position to pay for, or they're going to be moving to Bay Oaks to kind of cover some of that, and she'll be working both. But it'll reduce Mound House and museum store hours, reduction of services to residents and the public there. So we won't have somebody there, guiding people, in the museum store. We'll have to use an education coordinator for that, which takes away from what their real job really is. So, and then program and operations funds that reduce program material for residents and guests, limit to the experience for visitors of the Mound House. We can't offer as many amenities to them as far as, we have little things for kids, and we give out, pamphlets and those things so they can take home with them. Those would seriously be reduced. And reduction of funds to perform best museum practices. We've really got on a good track these past 2 years with Adam doing the MAPS program, museum accreditation program. And then, so we're trying to get back to best museum practices and legal acceptance of materials. So even if we get a painting in, there is a legal way to do that. We can't just take it, and we have to accession it into the town of Fort Myers Beach collection. So then it's a process where they sign off on it. So if we get a painting in, and then somebody passes away and the kids say, no, that's mine, we can legally take that in as ours. I know it sounds kind of strange, but we do get artifacts in quite a bit. I'm not talking just Calusa artifacts, but town artifacts, things throughout the years that we have gotten. I think one of the paintings that we have up, we had to accession, and we just have to do that for legality purposes. And we definitely need, we just hired, not just, but we've had somebody at the Mound House that's been doing our collections, and some people go by and say, why do we need that? But as a museum, that's a liability that we don't have those accessioned. So we have somebody that's actually cataloging those because they are our responsibility to keep them legally in our possession. So we do have an obligation, not only keep the Mound House open and tell the story, but to collect artifacts and things like that from the town when they come in. And then Public Works, we are you saw in there, it might be a little shocking because of all these cuts, but we are adding additional 3 Public Works street department. Pre-Ian, we had 6 to 8. With the first round of cuts, we went down to 2. And if you think of it this way, one of the things that we kind of, I guess, get beat up for are the medians, the potholes. We just haven't been able to keep up at all. So we wanted to do was add a few more in. We found some extra dollars that we could cut other programs and put that into Public Works because they do anything that's not beach. We have our beach team and then we have our street team. Our beach team is paid through TDC and they do work just on the beach. They are kind of obligated to do that. TDC funds do not pay for anything. If they go put up a street sign, that's general fund. So it could add up quick. So if we don't add those in, the roadways, signs, sand removal, townwide medians, including Estero Boulevard, that is our responsibility. Estero Boulevard, as you know, is not technically our responsibility roadway wise, but we have an agreement with Lee County that we will maintain Estero Boulevard. They did give us a chunk of money a few years ago to do that. That's Times Square, Bayside Veterans Park. So we reallocated some of the community policing and in combination of reducing in the Mound House staff and the Bay Oak staff to kind of cover those costs. So we felt like, definitely Public Works does play a huge role in how our community looks. We don't do the garbage. We don't do the recycling. I get that. We don't pick up yard waste. That's waste management. But we still have 7 miles of roads and back roads that we have to maintain. And 2 people just was not cutting it. I mean, you'd get a quarter of the way down Estero medians and you'd have to turn right back around in rainy season and do it again. So, if those don't get added in, and even with 5, it still is hard. I mean, it's hard to catch up with all the mowing and trimming and, potholes. Our task list is just very high. And I think it's just important to put that message out there that we're trying our best with what we have. And hopefully we can actually gain a few Public Works guys out of this. Any questions?
Scott, any questions for Jeff?
So on the fireworks, did you look at maybe just cutting New Year's Eve, keeping the 4th since it's our 250th anniversary? It's on a Saturday.
We know that, and I know like towns like Fort Myers is doing just one more, and then they're cutting theirs for good too. So we were just asked to reduce that fee, and this is just one thing that happens I'm not trying to diminish it.
No.
In the whole scheme of things, it's one day. I know it's a big part. I know it used to be funded partly by us, partly by other entities, which would be great. We tried to do that one about 2 years ago. We didn't. Somebody promised us money. We didn't get it back. So it's hard when we say, we'll raise money, but we haven't been able to as a town.
Yeah, I'm looking just, I understand the budgetary aspect, but it being our 250th anniversary of the country, it's on a Saturday. Monday's going to be the legal holiday. The economic impact on looking at big picture, not just the town's budget, but you're talking a huge economic impact if we don't have fireworks.
Yeah, and that's just, that's what I'm just kind of letting you know the risks and the impacts of these proposed cuts. So ultimately it's up to you all to decide if you want to make those cuts.
I also understand, we've got to use a barge now that everything's gone up.
Yeah, I know like Sanibel, they don't do it on a barge, but they have land. You have to have a 500-foot radius We just don't have that on this island. Even we tried to get the Red Coconut or Seagate property. It just wasn't a big enough area that the fire department would approve us to do those in. We can't do it at Bay Oaks. There just isn't that much room that we have to do them without using a barge and that without the pier. So that increases the cost significantly. Not only do we have to do the barge, but we have to get the Coast Guard's help. We have to have the sheriff's office boats out there. So we got to pay for all that. So it's just something that I don't want to. I mean, of course, I love fireworks too, but it's just something in the budget that's kind of attainable to cut. I mean, I think we've trimmed the fat, if you will, off our budget. And I don't, there probably are some additional cuts that we probably could make, but again, they're bigger risks than having, spending $150,000 or spending $100,000 or $120,000 on fireworks.
So would you say that the 200 is for both events, or is the fourth more because it's
the fireworks alone? When we ran the numbers, were 155,000 total.
So what's the other? So that's for both events or just one?
That's total. That's both. But we also had other special events through the town.
Okay.
The Easter egg hunt, the Fright Night.
Okay.
I mean, we do other things besides the fireworks.
Right. Okay.
Parades that we may help with, that we need staff for. We need rangers. If there's say the women's club does their parade, we still have to have staff there, and then that all comes out of this. I'm not saying we're not going to have staff there, but we're going to have to start charging for it.
So you're talking Christmas bike parade, you're talking Fright Night.
Most of those are ran by nonprofits.
Okay.
But at some point we do have a hand in at least the patrol of it.
Okay, that's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Woodson?
Yeah, a couple of things. We have just reestablished the Friends of Bay Oaks, and we've been certified now with the 501c3. So in looking at options, I mean, I understand cutting it from the budget, but the whole reason of having a Friends organization is for fundraising and for being able to fund some of the elements that are not covered in the budget and the town. So because we have this, I think it'd be a great, what's the word I want to say, challenge for them. That if we do cut this, it doesn't mean we have to actually cut the fireworks per se, but challenge the Friends organization through donations and that type of thing to actually pay for it. So it's an option. They're putting together the board of the Friends organization right now. So that could actually help with some of the other things at Bay Oaks as well. I worry about the after-school programs and the summer programs for the kids. It's a huge benefit for the parents and the working families in the town. They come and they drop their kids off. They're in a safe environment. They do great things for them. I worry about a 1 to 18 ratio for these kids. I don't know how, is that the norm? Is it not the
It
norm?
can be. I know that depending on the organization, but the national kind of average, I mean,
And the age of
on the high
kids?
end would be 1 to 25 in a big organization, but 1 to 15, 1 to 18, still a lot of kids to maintain when you're going out to Sunsplash or you're even outside on the playground. So I understand that. We used to run 1 to 10 or 1 to 15 in my previous career, and it works out, but it's just not as ideal. I think the parents have been accustomed to those low numbers.
Right. And I worry about, our liability insurance for that, does that increase because we have increased those ratios? There's a lot of different aspects to look at with it.
And going back to the fireworks, we would need to sign a contract here in the next few weeks, if not couple weeks, to secure one for New Year's. All the planning that goes into it, even our permitting. I think the Coast Guard likes about 90 days out, which we'd be very close to. So it's one of those, I know I've thought of the Friends. it's just a kind of a question mark for me is if we would get those funds. I know a lot of towns that we've been doing our research to, I mean, the nonprofits run the fireworks. The town doesn't necessarily run it. So, because I think there's costs involved, and there's a lot more that are cutting fireworks, even in Florida, they're not doing them anymore. But it's an option out there. It's something that, we just propose to cut to try to save some of the other funding, but it's just the risks and the impacts that I'm trying to point out.
Yeah, I mean, just things to think about. I know the Friends organization has their second meeting coming up the end of this month. So maybe that's a time that you can make a presentation to them as, what's their role as a Friends organization and what are they responsible for?
Yeah,
Or
and
could
that
be
is one thing.
responsible for?
I'm sorry to interrupt. That is one thing, even with the Friends of Mount House, they help us out with our budget too. So some of these, I know Adam Knight, our museum manager, was going to ask the Friends for some help in kind of getting some of these funds, but as awesome as they are, they haven't had the opportunity to raise a whole lot of money either. I mean, they've been doing so well for us. We're so appreciative, Ellen, to the Friends. But they have budgets too, and we can try to recoup some of it. And with the Friends of Bay Oaks, I think they have a pot of money, hopefully still in there, Joe, about $16,000. So it's a good start, but there are risks.
Okay, thanks.
Vice Mayor.
Jeff, these youth programs, they're very highly acclaimed. I talked to a lot of parents who are thrilled about them. And the reason why I asked the means testing question is I do hear from these parents sort of whispering to me what a great deal it is. And I ask that because, some parents are very blessed and more affluent than others. Are we charging market rate? And if we did charge market rate, would we have to cut these programs back?
We're close. We're a little, as far as the residents go, we're probably under. And as far as non-residents, we're probably getting closer to where we should be.
If you were to charge market rate to everyone, would you be able to save some of these programs?
Possibly, but I know we'd also lose some participants. I mean, we raised it 2 years ago, and we dropped a number of people.
Did you?
Yeah, but
Okay.
we are proposing again, as you might see, just a little bit of an increase, $25.
I didn't know how subsidized it was, but
Yeah.
it's not that far from market rate is what you're saying.
It's not too far off. It's just the summers get a little, and how municipalities work is the general fund kind of kicks that in a little bit as an amenity, but we're trying to bridge that gap like we were asked to. So the fee we're proposing to go up, not as much of an impact to the residents as a non-resident, but we're still going to try to get that gap going because, yeah, I mean, costs of everything are going up. It used to be you could go to the movie for, $3 and now it's like 11 a person, so costs are going up. But
What
we
year,
still
what year was
want
it when you were going to the movies for $3? Yeah.
Well, they had dollar theaters still when I was growing up. You could go for $1. They do still have matinees that are around $3 if we can find the right day, but
Okay.
they're not the newest movies. But
Senior citizens.
Yeah,
So,
I'll wait for that one.
I mean, it's hard, obviously, to make these cuts. And you guys to make a decision on this too. I
No,
understand.
I'm not
'cause-
being critical. I'm just brainstorming with you. 'Cause
No,
You've
and-
done a good job
and
of finding economies and belt tightening and so forth. So I'm not here to, I think you've done an excellent job of trying to find economies. So I was just brainstorming a little bit on some of these challenges. Yeah.
We're right in there. I did look up when Cape Coral is a youth program, or even my son could go to his after-school program. We're close. We're maybe a little bit less, and partly is at the after-school is a little less because right now, unfortunately, they're getting bussed in.
Right.
They don't get there till 4:00 or after. We're open till 6, so we don't want to gouge parents with the limited time that they're there.
The school thing is obviously complicated everyone's world. So, okay, that's all I've got. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Councilor Kane.
I'll back up what the mayor said. I think he did a good job of looking and making the tough decisions, and I appreciate that. Have you checked into drones for fireworks? That would save on a boat rental or,
Yeah, they were around, I think, 50 or 60 when I looked. I know there are places that have done it around here. It would probably save us a little. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know total cost. We'd still have to have everything else. The major cost, like I said, is the barge would help, but major cost is everything else we have to put towards those special events. I know Tom Yazzo, he's got to put a lot of rangers into it. We have to have police that shut down the bridge. It just gets to be really costly. I would say, and I want to just say 155,000 came out of my budget. More of the policing came out of Tom's budget. So total budget wise, I wish I had that number, but, and maybe Tom, maybe you may know, but it's every time we do it, it racks up with the sheriff's office. So if you want to know a total cost, I don't know if Tom, if you can answer that, maybe when you come up, but that's 155 just out of my budget.
Some of that does come through mine. Is Tom Shazzo, our service director. It's spared across the whole gambit, and the sheriff's department, I will say, with a lot of credit, they have thrown a lot to us outside the scope of that. But it's a pretty dramatic number. I don't have right offhand right now. The 155 that we're working on for that, the overtime that comes to the Rangers for the public safety side of that, and really what most of this is, that's what Jeff's referencing, is the public safety side, which ultimately, if we're going to gather people in one place, we have to be prepared to protect them in every manner and make sure that we're controlling the space in a manner that makes it safe for everyone who's involved and who's there.
And
yeah, I'm not sure and I don't know because I haven't explored it, but I know some residents have brought it up basically because of the environmental concerns and the noise pollution concerns from fireworks. I don't know if you'd have to shut down a bridge for a drone show. I don't know how that would work.
I think they do that, they don't do it for fireworks, they do it for safety.
Again, but I'm not sure.
Correct, yes. We could certainly look into it. We tried when previous town manager Andy Hyatt was here, we did look into it a little bit. They have had some issues with drone shows.
There
as
was
well.
one in Orlando, yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's something we can look at. I think when we looked, it was about 60,000. So it'd save us about 20,000. And then some, then there'll be added liability, which we still have it, but usually
You wouldn't need to pay
the
the
companies
fire
carry the
department.
liability. What's that?
You wouldn't need to pay the fire department.
Oh, yeah, you would.
For
They would
drones?
still want it for EMS. They always
Oh,
always
gotcha.
want a station down there, no matter what it is, even if it's the parade. We pay a lot of money for the parade for security. And I'm not saying that, I don't mean to keep being negative about it. It's just there's a big cost to it.
No, we get it.
One thing I don't want to cut. I mean, I get to work 4th of July. I get to work New Year's because it's fun. The fireworks are fun once they're going off, and not. We also have the risk of possible fog that may come in. Sorry,
You had to do
but
it.
we have those risks too.
A
If it's
drone show
raining-
you could reschedule though.
drone show you could possibly reschedule depending on how the contract runs. I know with the fireworks, once it's on the barge and it's loaded, they're ours. We pay for them. So
If I could add, I know they have looked into the drone show. As Jeff mentioned, one thing that we will be able to do this year, and I've already started talking with the Chamber of Commerce, is they do plan to have a drone show during the Sandcastle competition this year. So it'll be a good measuring for us to see the total cost, the effectiveness, all the other services that are required for that event for comparison purposes. I don't have that yet, but I'm looking forward to having that data. I've been working with Jackie to make sure that we're tied in with that. So
That's
just
excellent.
wanted
Thank
to
you.
add that.
And just another side thought, I hope maybe we could get some citizens to start volunteering for things. Would citizens be able to run the gift shop at the Mound House and things like that?
liability wise, I don't know if they're not an employee. I could look into it. We do utilize volunteers there for tours, those kind of things, but to handle money, I don't know if we can. I'll have to look. I haven't looked at that, but yes, certainly if we can utilize volunteers, and we also can utilize volunteers for our summer youth program. You know, if that can cut down, if they're with a group of of 18 kids, that really cuts down the eyes. So there are ways to try to help that out too. So.
I appreciate it. And I know how this has impacted you, and it's not easy, and I appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, you've done a great job of doing exactly what we asked of you to go and try to find cuts where you could find them. Obviously, the fireworks was the low-hanging fruit, for lack of a better term, to really look at. I'd love to see that program go back to the way it was, where the town had a specific amount they put in, and then the rest was funded through the chamber and local businesses in a match. It seemed to work really well that way. Obviously, that's back when we had a pier. But I'd like to see us look at that program again, because Scott's right, it is an economic impact. But to me, I think the economic impact of the fireworks should be paid for by the people who are benefiting also, not just the taxpayers specifically. So we all love fireworks. We all love to see them. We would all love every single one of these events, but we challenged you with a very hard task, and you did it. Now it'll be up to us to make those decisions. The other thing that's concerning a little bit is we always hear, why isn't Bay Oaks open more? Why isn't this open more? Well, this is exactly why. This is exactly why. And as these condos come back online, people who aren't here or aren't paying attention, as we heard earlier today, you're going to start seeing more condos come back on. When they come back, they don't have restaurants to go eat at yet. They're going to want things to do. They love the boss programs. They love their pickleball. They love all that. And these potential cuts would basically not allow them to do that. And I'm sure our inboxes and your inbox would fill up very quickly when we start getting filled back out. But it was a tough task we gave you, but you did your job, and now we have to do ours.
Yeah, and our goal, is always to stay open as much as we can. So we're going to stretch as far as we can go, but a lot of it is personnel, and we need people to provide those services. And it's just the nature of the beast right now, and we needed to make cuts, and we need to bridge that gap and try to do the best we could. So it'll be a stressor on some of our staff. I know that, and those of you that are listening during my meetings, it's gonna take a toll on them. It definitely will, but that just means that services for the town won't be as plentiful. That hurts me to say, because I'm definitely a Parks and Rec guy, and I love the Mound House, but it is what it is right now. That's our culture we got right now.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
So kind of related to what was just mentioned was emergency services. So this is where Emergency Services Director Tom Yazzo will come and speak regarding about the $50,000.
We better make sure we didn't lose our.
Yep, take a break.
Everything's rebooting. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hey, mine came back quick.
We can't record it, so. I think it's just something.
You can hear the thunder.
It's going. It's live.
Yeah, we run out of money already.
Josh says we're still live.
We're still going?
We're still broadcasting. Yeah, so.
We're still good. Okay.
Oh, here we go. We're back.
Okay.
Back.
He's
I
got this
think,
one on.
is he coming
Ran
back?
out of money.
We can move on to the next item just until
Yeah,
Tom
we'll
is
come back to
available.
Tom.
Yeah. All right. So
Well, Tom's not here, he's cut.
we'll just skip over his. Okay, we can move on to the human resource change. This was to increase employee engagement budget from 10,000 to 20,000. And our human resources director, Talisa Oliveira, is here to address the reason for that.
Yeah, that mic works a lot better.
Okay. Hi, my name is Talisa Oliveira. I'm the Human Resources Director for the town. So I am requesting to increase our employee appreciation budget. Recently, we had an interactive workshop with our employees for our strategic plan, and I don't want to give out too much information. I was not a part of it, but our human resources generalist was, and a few of our directors, and they gave me some really great feedback. So our staff was asked to engage in the strategic plan workshop, and a portion of that was to talk about what's working well at the town, and then what challenges we face. How can we improve from an employer standpoint? And it was brought up that at times employees don't feel appreciated, and I get that. We ask a lot of our employees. Currently, we have a monthly lunch and birthday and anniversary celebration that we hold, and that costs about $700 every time we do that. So that equates to $8,400 annually. So that basically almost maxes out our budget. I would like to have a nice Christmas party for them, and I would also like to establish an employee recognition program so that when they hit their anniversary milestones, we can actually present them with a nice gift or plaque, and they can, just a way for us to appreciate them and boost morale and employee retention. And so that is the reason for the increase that I'm requesting.
Scott, you have a question for Talisa?
Not right now.
Karen?
Again, it's not a question. It's more of, the cost of turnover versus a $10,000 increase in employee retention is basically what we're trying to solve for. More than that is eaten up in just one replacement search.
Absolutely.
So, I would look at that as just saying this is, we do ask a lot, and
We
now
do.
we're cutting even more, and they're going to be working even harder. So we don't want to see that turnover.
Yeah, and just for context, Karen, thank you. That is so true. For context, in that same workshop, and I'm sorry, I hope if Dr. Kohler was here, she might be, don't give away too much. It was brought up that oftentimes our employees feel like they are overworked and asked to perform duties outside of their established job responsibilities. And that is a direct result of the environment that we are in post-Ian. Every day we're asked to do more. There are more challenges, and we review our staff. We see what strengths they have, and we ask them to. We had an employee on our public works team come and install, the brick down here, and we have somebody handling our special events that she has a different job. So in my office, we do spend a lot of time trying to identify strengths and combine roles where we can. We really do ask a lot of our staff, and they do a lot for us, and they have been so adaptable. And so, yeah, to me, the $10,000 is well warranted, and it will give me more flexibility to be able to give back to them. So they do feel more appreciated, and they deserve that.
Vice Mayor?
Just a little context, Joe, here. This presentation that you're putting forth, you didn't really set the table beforehand. Can you tease out what the end result of all these discussions is? Is it a balanced budget at that point? Is that the end slide here? Just so as people listen to this at home, they're getting a sense of the broader goal and the broader picture?
That is true. What we've done is we've tried to identify all the changes in the budget that would take us from that $1.191 million deficit and bring us to a balanced budget in the end. But in so doing, we wanted everyone to understand what the impacts were going to be of all these cuts, just so that we have the full context when you make the decision.
Very, very appropriate. I just wanted to make sure people who are watching, who hear these additions and subtractions, realize that the end goal is to have a balanced budget without a millage rate increase. Right?
Well, that is true, but there are other considerations too. Once we get through this list of potential
I got
cuts,
you. But that's
yes,
that's what we're focused on now.
That's
So
what we're focused on now.
thank you. I don't have any additional questions.
John?
I don't have a problem with your request for the $10,000 for employee recognition or engagement. But I think it's important to note, and I don't know this. I'm assuming that you all do this. I'm just speaking for myself and how I interact with others, whether it's at a restaurant or something else. When I come into this place, I try to tell people I appreciate what they do for the town. And that's a little thing that goes a long way to people. Or stopping and listening, asking them how they are, you get the normal response of, I'm fine. No, I really want to know. And it takes a little longer, but it shows you care. And I think that's important too. And I'm not trying to make a judgment there. This is just how I operate.
And I agree with that completely. And one part of me trying to implement that performance review process is to facilitate more of that open communication because we are so busy. And so making an intentional effort to sit down and discuss performance, I think that there's a lot of appreciation that needs to go into that process as well. And so we're in the middle of that now. So I'm hoping that that will contribute to that as well. Yes, it's every person and especially management's job to stop and verbally appreciate employees every day. So absolutely.
I don't have anything additional. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
And you're doing a great job.
See,
Good job.
Yeah, right.
Now that
Yes, she is.
Mr. Yazzo is back, I'll back up a couple slides so that he can explain the $50,000 change for emergency lighting.
Good morning, or good afternoon, evening. Thomas Yazzo, Fort Myers Beach Emergency Service Director. So to speak to the public safety aspect of this, we've built a program now that had been somewhat deficient over the past number of years. We took some of our personnel, changed them from just parking, and we trained them and created a small group of people now who pay attention to a lot more on the island. Parking is a small part of what they do. And part of that is the public service is getting them out there and helping. They're in the neighborhoods now as opposed to sitting at the beach accesses. So the goal behind this with the emergency lighting is we're doing more assistance on Estero, side streets, in the special events that we do. That does not include the stuff that's, we may lose, and that includes critical incidents, everything from a storm to what we just had in MVA up the road that may be affecting some of it seems to be storm related, but with our flashing lights. But the idea is to have our vehicles have lighting on them that incorporates a safety aspect, to have our vehicles be able to do and help with motor vehicle accidents, to be able to help with these different critical incidents, to have them at different locations. So that's the idea behind this. It includes lighting for those vehicles, but it also includes equipment that will help in the event of a critical incident. And that's everything from generator space to satellite recovery when we're dealing with things quickly. So we're on the scene to help. And that's kind of the idea of this 50,000, which is being pulled out of another fund, which is still related to community policing.
Tom, when you say lights, I assume you're talking about
Yes, sir.
rooftop lights.
Overhead lights and just something that will protect our staff and also protect our
Alert-
public.
Alert lighting, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Scott, questions for Tom?
No, not
Karen?
this time.
Jim?
I have a question, Tom. It's really more of an opportunity for you to, and I know you'd be uncomfortable doing this. I don't know that the taxpayers fully appreciate or know how the things that you're doing to professionalize public safety on Fort Myers Beach in terms of the town's role. Would you just take a second and talk a little bit about your background and what you bring to Fort Myers Beach?
I'm a retired police officer from New York. I worked for the federal government for a certain period of time as well. And I was retiring here to Fort Myers. I came down here. I moved here about 4 months before Hurricane Ian came and ate us. So at that time, I decided I was not going to be retired anymore. So I went and helped search and rescue in certain areas around here. And then I was asked to come and help Fort Myers Beach. So I brought some of my history with me. And the idea was to help LCSO within their scope to make a better interaction with us, the county, with LCSO, the fire departments, the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, to kind of bring that together. So we didn't have an issue where we have another big critical incident and it turns into a soup sandwich. So we're building that up with the idea that we're now have a plan. We're going to follow that plan so the residents and our employees are safe if something does happen.
You also have military service
Yes,
as well?
sir. I do.
Would you elaborate on that?
It was a long time ago. I served the United States military, and I served around most of South and Central America.
In the Marine Corps?
Yes, sir. Part of it.
Well, thank you for your service. I would say, just as an aside, since I've been on the council, the relationship with the Lee County Sheriff's Department and the fire department has never been better. The cooperation, the coordination, give you and Frankie and our staff and quite frankly, the mayor and our town council. It's just great to see that kind of symbiotic relationship going forward. It's solved so many problems, prevents so many problems, and I know you play a significant role in that. So thank you.
Thank you.
John?
No questions. I'll just appreciate you. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people, I think you're right, Jim, people understand how much Tom really does and his team and how it's appreciated, not just here, but in the county. I haven't talked to anyone that hasn't enjoyed working with you or feels confident that when they pick up the phone, they know they've got someone on the other line that's willing to work alongside with them and not fight them and things, who gets it. So, and I had that opportunity of working directly with you and some of the equipment during Milton, so I got to see it firsthand too. So thank you for all that you do, and we'll consider your ask.
Thank you, sir.
So I'll move on to, okay, this is an adjustment. Actually, it was more of a correction that we needed to make to the budget for $40,000. We realized as we were trying to find places to cut, we actually looked at the line item in the mowing field and realized there wasn't enough budgeted there. I don't, Frankie, if you would like to come and explain the reason for this change.
Good evening, Frankie Kropacek, Community Development Director, our town of Fort Myers Beach. One of my duties is to look over the mooring field. It has been on the upswing ever since we have our new harbor master involved. And part of this, what we're talking about here today, is instead of having town staff that did it in the past, used to dive and do all the maintenance on the mooring field itself, the underwater anchoring, which is a huge liability, not only to make sure that you have the proper certifications to dive, but the right equipment, and then also the great responsibility of getting the right people to do that job. We've done away with that, and it's been a lot cheaper and a lot less risk on the town to have a company come in biannually and do the maintenance on the underwater anchoring. So that's where this adjustment is.
Scott, questions for Frankie?
Frankie, if it's cheaper, then why is it 40,000 more?
It wasn't, it was a correction. It was supposed to be put in at 60,000. It was only put in at 20,000.
Okay.
They realized that, and we had to make that correction like Joe said.
Okay. Point taken. Thank you.
Karen?
Well, I think we're looking at fees as well for the mooring field, aren't we?
We are, but to get to that point, we did a study last year with Curtis. One of his first duties here as harbor master was to look at other municipal run or at least county run facilities along the Gulf Coast. And we are right in that sweet spot. Our reservations are plumb full. They're full almost 2 months in advance. We've illustrated over even a trying period this last summer when things really dropped off that we stayed booked through the entire doldrums of the summer, and we continue to do so all the way into season this year. So being in that sweet spot of not being the cheapest, not being the most expensive, that has helped us greatly keeping that. Also with this maintenance, it allows us to get almost back to full capacity, which is, I believe, 88 balls that we would be able to moor. We're still having a little issue with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Coast Guard to get that front section out by Snug Harbor tucked in a little bit more. But that's been ongoing cooperation between all three entities.
Thank you.
Jim?
Just briefly, we had some, I think, unusual numbers, Joe, when you first presented about the mooring field, which maybe gave us a little bit of a distorted view. As the liaison to the mooring field, it's been my experience, Frankie, and you can elaborate on this, is that as the mooring field became whole again as a result of the repairs after Hurricane Ian, and now that it's full, once we now have a full mooring field, we're on track to become revenue neutral again. and it should be self-sustaining. That's certainly our goal. Is that a fair characterization, Frankie?
That is true, sir. So you got to remember, you go back to the original premise of why the mooring field was established. It was established on twofold. One, they had gotten that grant for the pump out boat. The pump out boat was established so people just weren't dumping waste into the back bay to keep it an ecological preserve. With that comes the mooring field and the ability to have people not only visit, but also come and stay for extended period of time and have access to the town through the upland services, which we've used through the Matanzas Inn. And at one time, we actually had a office there prior to Ian. Currently, they're in our emergency communications trailer right behind that building and underneath the bridge. So today was the day that the dinghy dock fully got installed, the brand new one that FEMA had helped us with right after the storm. So the improvements that we've made, even though they may not seem great to the average person, to the people that come and listen to the Anchorage Committee, that have talked to Curtis, that have gone out and actually looked at what they've done out there, and the fact that we have people just waiting to come and use it, that should show that we have a very good future ahead of us.
Thank you.
John?
Let me ask you this, Frankie. Is it a fair characterization to say then that the mooring field is a benefit for this community, environmentally for the bay and economically for the town?
Yes, so that's also part of my duties, is looking at tourism and how do we keep the economic engine driving in this town. And if you're bringing people in here, even on a overnight, they're sailing up from the Keys or they're coming down from Tampa on a way to somewhere else. They stay here, they moor, they come to our places. Look where they're coming out at. They're coming out right in our downtown business district. So that's what we want them to say. They come here, they have a great time, they see what we have to offer here in the town. And yes, it's still kind of sparse, but we have a lot more to offer now than we did 2 years ago when this whole thing started, as far as rebuilding back after Ian. So we have a lot of repeat customers that come down from Sarasota, that come down from Tampa on a long weekend with their sailboat on their way to the Keys because they like a particular restaurant. They know that they can get in and out also in a protective harbor. With the storms that we had last year, we had to actually turn people away because they know that this is a safe harbor here with the Back Bay. So it is on the upswing both economically and as an environmental concern. I think we're eliminating that more and more, especially with the new dinghy dock, which will establish a little greater area for boats to get in, get out, and not sit there and just wait to get in where they're adding stuff into the water, oil, those type of things.
Who would pay to clean that up if we didn't offer these services? Would the town also be responsible for that? Or
That's kind of a catch-22. The FWC could definitely fine us because it would be within our boundaries. But again, they're not in the business of doing that. Chad keeps a great eye on everything that we're doing there. Not that he oversees the mooring field, but he does help out where we can. Our greatest interest here is to protect the interest of that bay. There's going to be a huge project that's going to be undertaking here where the Army Corps is coming in and dredging that back sandbar that you can see from going over the bridge either at low tide. And so that part is going to be, Chad's going to be involved with that. Curtis is going to be involved with that. Our new boat is going to be involved with that process. So we're doing the best we can, and we're also stepping in a lot of places with the canal debris removal, those type of things of making this island not only a safer place, but a very cleaner place. When you look into your canal, you'll be able to see the bottom. You'll be able to see the manatees come back, the dolphins that we're all used to seeing. So those are the things that having a good head on your shoulders and a good program, I think really fares well for the town moving forward.
the mooring field's best case scenario is probably being revenue neutral, as the vice mayor said.
That is correct.
But it can make money, but that money then has to be poured back into the mooring field, is it not?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And as everybody knows, I mean, is Matanzas, the upland services, even though it's a great opportunity to do, is that a long-term solution? You know, it's been on my radar and expressed it to the town manager and the deputy town manager that, you know, to sustain this and to move it forward into the next phase, we have to get to that point where we're just eking past that neutral area so we can start maybe affording to build our own infrastructure to house our crew that way too.
All right, thanks, Frank.
Yes, sir.
Frank, I think you guys are on the right path, outsourcing this and not having an employee do it. That being said, I would really like to see the $60,000 be rolled into the fee. And what I mean by that is, you know, looking at what the fee schedule, I believe was $175 you're proposing for a week. And you mentioned it was 88 mooring balls. That's $13 a mooring ball a week. I mean, to me, it would make more sense to pass that to the users versus adding it to the budget. I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I don't know anybody that's going to complain from going to 175 potentially to, you know, 188. That seems awfully cheap to moor at Fort Myers Beach for a week.
I agree with you, sir.
Especially if you're telling me that we're booked out and there's a waiting list.
Yes, sir.
But just a discussion I would like to have at some point on that 60,000 being rolled into that weekly fee amount.
We'll definitely look into that, sir.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, then moving on, we have our town clerk, changes to her budget. Amy Baker, would you like to speak to this, or if I could run through them for you? If you like. And then-
I can speak to it. I'm going to do it from right here if you don't mind, though, since I'm already in front of a mic. A lot of mine are just increases in some costs. We have more meetings, so it brings up our the cost that we pay somebody to do our minutes for us. Our software costs have all gone up. We've added some election fees that we weren't planning on this year. I have dropped our training, which the risk in that is we're just not going to stay as current on keeping up with what's going on out there. You know, if there's any kind of new trainings we need to get into, that would be it. I mean, my department's pretty easy to, we have to do our job no matter what, so.
What are some of the training? I mean, to eliminate that entire budget to me doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. If there's things that you're required to do.
Right now this past year, we've hired a new coordinator. A lot of you have met Lizette. We were going to enroll her in the clerk school, for lack of a better word. I've dropped that out of my budget, so she won't be trained in that for another year at least, if I get it back in next year's budget, to just be a certified clerk with us. Jason and I are both currently certified clerks. And the training, it's a 3-year training, so it's over the course of a few years.
So that's what that training budget was for.
Mm-hmm. Among other things, but the big cost of it was that training.
Scott, questions for Amy?
No, thanks, Amy.
Karen?
Yeah, I'm a person that does not want to reduce training. I think it's really important. I think it's important for retention. I think it's important for just everything you do to have all of you certified. And it's a 3-year commitment. You know, that I think there are ways that you put that into an agreement. If we're going to send you to training and you leave, you know, within that process, you reimburse based on a sliding scale. I think there's ways to do that. But it benefits all of us. It's a very important position. There's been times when we have had to redo something, redo meetings because we weren't noticed in advance and that kind of thing. I just don't think that that's a cut that we should do.
I hear you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I you know, especially after the storm, you know, Amy always couldn't be here, and Jason has been very knee deep in you know, legislative liaison work to be able to help this appropriations and do all the things that have helped us along the way. So it really leaves a void for $3,000 investment to have someone here. You know, you're not, no offense, Amy, but you're not always going to be here, right?
No, I get it.
And,
I
you
get
know,
it. The
people get
importance
sick
of-
and
Yeah.
you know, things happen. That one to me is a valuable thing to keep involved. Jim?
Nothing additional.
John?
I just, can you clarify the travel and per diem from 5 to 6? Is that for Jason's travel or?
Travel and per diem, and the way the old budget used to be tagged, it's kind of a catch-all. You'll also notice my books, publications, and subscriptions. It's kind of a catch-all for me, so it's not necessarily all travel and per diem. A lot of some of the programs that we use get put into that. And I don't have it in front of me how I break it down, but I can provide that to you if you need it.
No, I don't need it,
A
but
lot
then
of like our
would that
notary,
be
our
something then
notary
that should be
fees
covered
get-
under the contingency then, or?
I think what needs to happen is a lot of this just needs to be reworded.
Okay.
Like our notary fees are in there. We are part of professional organizations that we're required to maintain. Things like that get kind of dumped in those.
Okay, thank you.
What's the software?
The software is the things like the Civic Clerk, the
Civic
board
Clerk.
portal you were all using, our public records software we use. So, we're increasing our records retention for that, or, it's all in one place for us instead of maybe in Jason's email, maybe in my email. We're keeping all our
To streamline
agendas,
it, okay.
minutes, items, all the backup materials all in one place. So they're easier to find.
Okay.
I just have one other question. Is it fair to say, like on the publication advertisement and that type of thing, that's basically due to volume of what we have coming through
It is
right
due
now?
to volume, right? With increased, all the or not variances much, but all the ordinance changes. Every one of those ordinance that passes across this desk has to be advertised.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Amy.
Then these would be the changes that I'll speak to myself. We have originally in the budget that had been presented to you, there was a contracts manager that was included in the finance department budget. So that was a vacancy. We already have a contracts and procurement specialist in the budget, a filled position. So we're proposing to remove this position from the budget. We're decreasing our contractual services by the 98,000. That just has to do with the consulting firm that had been brought in after the change in the finance department. They were trying to fill the void there. So we're reducing that, or actually just eliminating it, and any ongoing continuation of their services to assist with filling ongoing vacancies. My expectation is that the additional cost will be covered by the savings from the vacancies themselves. We have an increase in the audit expense. It was quite a bit more this past year as a result of the additional work that they did in terms of FEMA auditing, especially, and other grant auditing. I think they call them single audits when they have to do an audit on a grant, and there are 5 different ones that they did. So that all adds cost to it. And they also provided an additional service for us that we hadn't had in the past, where they prepare the state annual financial report for us as well. That's a time-consuming, tedious process. It was done before I returned to my position, but it was a valuable assistance to us because that's what was used to help provide information for the DOGE requirements and reports. So it is actually very beneficial to us. So we understand that in order to maintain all that going forward, we need to increase the budget by that amount. There's also then, in terms of general government, there was a misunderstanding regarding the original budget. When it was presented to you, we had thought that there were some TDC positions that were, previously TDC positions that were no longer going to be funded. So we were thinking we needed to move them back into the general fund. It turns out we had misunderstood. And so we're just moving them back out of the general fund into the TDC fund. So that was really more of a correction in terms of what the funding source is. There's an increase to emergency communications line item of $2,000, and that's simply to cover the cost of the increase to the Code Red software that's used by the island. There's a bonus pay budget that is based on performance metrics, and because we've cut headcount or full-time equivalent positions, we're also able to reduce what was budgeted for the performance budgets by and accordingly. There, because we're reducing the overall budget for the town and the general fund, GFOA recommends a 2% contingency line item. So because the overall budget came down, we're able to reduce that line item accordingly. And that's where that $17,000 savings came from. The community policing, we had originally proposed in the workshop budget a $330,000 amount in the general fund. It's being brought down to the 100. I think that's 95,000, and then that savings is what we're trying to use to help fund the $50,000 for emergency lighting, as well as some of the public works employees that we're trying to add back in that were originally cut.
I want to stop you right there, if you don't mind,
Yes.
Joe, on this one. So of the $135,000 savings, you're saying that that money would go to use towards the $50,000 lighting, emergency lighting?
Yes.
So you wouldn't need that additional 50,000?
Well, I mean, this is how we funded it. It was by cutting from other areas, and this in particular was the line item we cut to help fund that item.
I see what you, okay. So of the $195,000 that you have in there, what would come out of that? Would that be for police stuff? I mean, what would that other $195,000 be used for?
Normally, it's used to pay for sheriff's services, law enforcement services. It's the general fund portion. We try to also utilize the gas tax fund also to help pay for it. I want to say there's at least 110,000 or 120,000 in the gas tax fund, plus this 195,000. So it's a significant amount of money that's available to pay for sheriff services.
So there's no other separate line item just for sheriff services?
No, this is the line item.
This is the line item, okay. Because in the past, there was a different line item, but now it's just kind of rolled into the community policing
Yeah,
title,
and
if
I
you will.
think the actual line item may still say sheriff services, but because people have been referring to it as community policing, that's how we refer to it on the slide. We thought
Okay.
maybe it would be more recognizable, but it is the same thing. Total workers' comp came down only $1,300 after all the changes are made with personnel. Total benefit change, this was the net change to the general fund after we received word regarding what the increase in benefit, the cost of benefits for medical, the net increase, I should say. I think we had an increase in medical, and then there was a net savings on the dental and other ancillary insurance. So we do have those. So the net change to the general fund was an increase of almost $50,000. And I think that was addressed probably already. So I think you're fully aware of all of that. So liability insurance, this is a savings to the general fund, but I think it's not so much that we're paying less for liability insurance as we're shifting more employees to other funds. And so as you shift it to other funds, then the cost of their insurance shifts with it. Miscellaneous corrections, as we're going through the budget, there's just, formula error here or there, and it just miscellaneous changes total almost $15,000 of more savings that we were able to find. Operating supplies, it was just rounded up to $1,000 for the town hall maintenance, still not very much. Personnel savings, what happened here was originally when Tom started out being overseeing mooring field, then his responsibility shifted. And so it's in doing an overall analysis between that and then the next line item where it says personnel compliance officers, manager and magistrate. So to the extent that all of these positions oversee code compliance or have anything to do with code compliance, it was determined that at least 75% of their time is involved in enforcing the Florida building code. And because of that reason, it is a allowable use of building permit revenue funding to cover those costs. And so given the situation that we're in and looking to relieve costs from the general fund, it was appropriate to shift those 75% of that lower line item for code enforcement over into the building fund, and then 20, I think it's 20% of Tom's time in overseeing those areas also into the building fund. So that's the reason for that. I'm not sure if there's more. No. Okay. So does anyone have any questions regarding any of these line items?
No. Scott, any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got two questions. The contracts manager, you sure about that? Since we've had some problems with some contracts in the past, and I think it's gotten better.
I mean, is this something that, it's a vacant position? We're trying to figure
Oh,
out.
so it's a vacant position.
It is a
we're just
vacant
not gonna-
position. It's not
Okay.
like we're eliminating an existing one. It's vacant.
Okay.
We were adding to the staff. We have a contracts procurement specialist position right now, and this was like a bit of a higher level position to come in.
Okay, gotcha.
Scott, I can add to that too. It's something that when I came on board, and Joe was not here, and we had the Goldman Wolf assisting us, the contracting and the thing, and Deb was working, all by herself on these contracts and the oversight and the development and everything of the contracting. I felt that at that time, we needed another person to help her in that regard and to help me out as the town manager. A couple months go by, Joe comes back on board. Joe gets his assessment of the team when he comes back, and we have a discussion. He, shows me now that we had Cassandra on board, we had Joe on board, and had moved Deb over to the finance department. We were in better shape.
Okay.
Than
That's
so
a
no
great
longer needed.
Joe, you saved us 107,000 just by coming.
Yeah, we had lost like 3 people out of that department, correct?
Correct. And it wasn't just Joe that we had lost,
Right.
as you know. We lost Joe and a couple other people all around the same time. So I needed somebody then, but now we're in a much better place.
Okay, and then thank you, Will. My other question is reducing the community policing, by a third. Is the same thing. Can you explain that? Because that seems. We're always it's always safety first, right? So.
One thing I just want to mention is the original workshop version of the budget that we presented. There was a proposed increase of $110,000, and so we're taking away that proposed increase, and then bringing it down another 25,000. So basically, it's coming down 25,000 in comparison to what it has been budgeted at. We're just not increasing it as much as it was thought. And it escapes me as to what the reason was as to why we were.
Well, if you're not having special events like fireworks and things like that, this the need for
I
the
just wanted
extra.
some clarity because if you look at this and like I said, move contracts manager, what do you? And then you see reducing community policing. So I just want to make sure that that's we have a reason behind that.
And I'm sorry, I was just reminded, as the mayor also said, it was the increase of 110,000 was to help offset the cost for the special events.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Karen,
We're good.
Jim,
Not at this time.
John.
Nothing.
All right, continue.
So this was the detailed listing of all the changes that were proposed. And so what we're just doing now is looking at, this is the end result of all those changes by department. So it shows Bay Oaks Recreation Department, the savings of 436,000, Mound House 130,000. Public Works Maintenance is going up by 194,000 to cover those additional Public Works employees. Code enforcement, it's not that we're eliminating anything in code enforcement. That $333,000 savings is by shifting the cost over into the building fund. Emergency services, this is that $50,000 increase for the emergency lighting and other equipment. Finances, that's the total amount of the net change in the finance department based on what I just reviewed with you. General government, the 317,000. That also, let me just back up. It's these line items here. It's the return of the 160,000 for the TDC employees that were put into the general fund, but now they're put back into TDC. That's the bulk of it. And then the community policing, that 135,000 is the bulk of the general government savings. The overall, the 80,000, those are those miscellaneous items, like contingency, not exactly even sure. We'd have to go back and review it all. Town hall maintenance, it's just simply that $250. I mean, it's almost wasn't even worth putting in, but it was there to help balance it all out. Human resources, the $10,000 increase. Mowing field, it's a net increase of 15,000 because of the moving out of Mr. Yazzo's salary, but then the increase of the 40,000, so that was only a net increase of 15,000. And then the town clerk, we had to increase it primarily for the special election and then the other line items that were missed in her budget. So the net result is how we got down to covering the entire deficit of $1.191 million. Then this is just to give, so now what does the overall budget look like now that we've made all those changes? This is just a comparison to the original, I mean, our current FY25 budget to the FY26 budget. It's an overall change in across the entire town, all departments, a reduction of 3.75% full-time equivalents employees. Here, this is if you, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I have provided Cassandra put all this together so it goes through every single change in every single department by position, whether it's increased or decreased. So I can spend time on this, but I think you already know this. So I'll just scroll through this, but there's quite a list of all the changes, every single position.
So the gist of it, Joe, is you're proposing another almost 4 positions.
Well, actually, it's a reduction. I think
A
it's
reduction. That's what I meant.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes,
that's what I meant to
a
say.
reduction overall.
Yeah, it just represents, and I thought it was important that we go through all of this to show you where all of those reductions in staffing were. Sometimes it's not, and most of the time it's not, it's not filling a position that was vacant, or it's a changing of the fund allocation, for that position, how we pay for that position. As Joe explained, if most of their work is enforcing building code, it's allowable to use the building fund, et cetera. So that's why you see in some cases the 0.25, 0.50, or if it's a whole number, then that's a position that we either move to a different fund entirely, or we're just not going to fill, because we either identified that they're operating fine without it, or that's one area that we felt we could economize.
So I'll just fast forward through all the list here. Then this is just to give you an overview of all the revenues that are coming in. So this is just by major categories of revenue by the source. So our ad valorem tax is about 4.5 million. Charges for services, this will be all the fees that we collect. So that's 9.2 million in total. This is across the town, so it could include water fees, everything. So we've got fines, 125,000, grants, 3 million, intergovernmental. So this would be monies coming in from other government entities, 500,000. Licensing, permitting is 2.1 million. Loan proceeds, this would be from including the SRF fund, revolving loan fund, like for the tier 1, and that's primarily what that would be. Miscellaneous.
Is that considered interest income then, or loan proceeds?
No, this would be actual borrowing, borrowing, use of loan.
Opposite of income.
Yeah, it's
opposite of interest. So
it's
Well, it says all funds revenue by source.
Well, it's the use of loan proceeds. It's loan proceeds that are
Okay. Oh, all right.
To fund
All right. Now I
various
get it.
things.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. A use of the reserves 19.6 million, and transfers a total of 2.8 million. Now I can there are slides, some slides that detail this out. So you're probably wondering what some of these big numbers are. So use of reserves. This is just to kind of give you a list of what's all in that almost $20 million. So it's carrying forward that $782,000 that has been set aside within the general fund for Estero Boulevard landscaping. So that's considered a reserve that we'd be using again, or would be available for use for next year's budget. We're carrying forward road impact fees and parks impact fees from last year that are available for use. Bridge loan, we'll be using 1.75 million of the bridge loan. I should explain that this may seem higher than it was from what was originally presented, but there's about a 340,000 decrease in revenue or I should say, a difference between revenue in the water fund versus the amount of expense in the water fund. And that's because this year we are having a full year's worth of SRF loan payments that in previous years we had a break from having to pay those loans. They gave us a 2-year reprieve of loan payments. So we were able to kind of catch up with our water revenue a bit, but we still don't have everyone online bringing in enough revenue to pay for everything. And so one way to bridge that gap would be to use the 300,000 from the bridge loan there as well. Otherwise, it would just use up the fund balance from the water fund. So there's that. The FDM Hurricane Recovery Fund. This was a loan. It's a loan, but they gave it to us up front, and this is available to use on a certain specified list of FEMA projects. So we can use that money towards those specific projects. But we have to be very careful that we know for sure it's going to be covered by FEMA, because once you use it, then the repayment of it is dependent upon the actual reimbursement from FEMA. So it's still available. That's the balance of it. Started out with 5 million. We've only used a small portion of it. Beach renourishment. This is what is left in terms of grants that we received up front, as well as some of the town's contribution for beach renourishment that's carrying forward to next year. Some of that money we'll probably have to pay back. I think the exact number escapes me, but it's between $3-4 million of unused funds that we were paid for up front once we do the reconciliation. So yes, it's in the budget, but it's probably going to be paid back. Turtle lighting, this is the balance of what's left of that grant that we received. That's the final, I think it's like we viewed, there's like 4 payments of $1.9 million towards turtle lighting that we've been paying out. So we've already made 3 payments. This will be the 4th and final payment for next year.
Joe, just for people who are watching, you use the term turtle lighting. These are the lights, the street lights for Estero Boulevard and the side streets, correct?
Yes, they are.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and then the replacement program. This is an amount of money that was set aside prior to Hurricane Ian in the capital fund. And then once we got the bridge loan, we were not allowed to use any of our non-ad valorem revenues to fund any capital programs. So we're kind of had our hands tied, but we already had roughly 4 times that amount. I want to say like $2.5 million we had set aside in the capital budget. So as a way to kind of parcel that out, we've been just budgeting like a quarter of it a year. But because pretty much everything was destroyed or brand new coming out of Ian, we've really not had to use that much money very much. So it's still sitting there for any needs that may come up during the year that were maybe unanticipated. And then the building fund, this is where the cost of those employees that we're shifting over there is actually going to add to the total cost of the building fund to the point where it's exceeding the new permit revenue that's coming in. But So that's going to force us to use the reserve that's built up from the previous year's worth of permit revenue that's been coming in that exceeded our costs. So we've had a surplus kind of building up in the fund from those fees. So we are required to use that money. We're not allowed to just stockpile it. We're required to use it, but for the allowable purposes. So it's another reason why moving the cost into the building fund of eligible expenses would make sense, because this is a way to utilize the surplus and benefit the general fund at the same time. So that's the almost $20 million explanation for the reserves. And then this is just a list of some of the various grants we have. The WCIND Marine Law Enforcement Grant to help pay for the sheriff services of patrol and the water there. Mound House, they have TDC grants. So the next three are all TDC, and it's the portion for Mound House, 264,000, Newton Park, 53,000, beach maintenance, 941,000. Then we have CDBG DR. This is really a placeholders, just based on the agreements that we have with them. This is what was submitted in terms of the applications to CDBGDR. There was like a funding plan or a spending plan and a timeline. So I just looked at that, and then based on those timelines and the amounts that were proposed to spend, I plugged in the budget numbers for next year. The timing may be off, it may not be that exact amount, but it's also important to know that these are reimbursement-based expenses. So yes, that is the plan, but we have to wait to be reimbursed as well. It's not money we have, it's just money that we're expecting in the future.
Joe, where does the last year's or this year's state appropriation funds that came in for the match programs, where does that fall in here?
You know, I don't have them in here yet. It was one of the things I wanted to put in, but we're literally running out of time doing this up until the last minute. And I'm sorry, it will be in there for our final budget presentation. Okay. But I'm sorry I did not get it in this round. And then the bridge loan status. This is just a slightly different presentation, because this also, now that red line item is a little bit more because of utilizing that 300 and some thousand for the water fund. But so it's just under $10 million total that we'll be using of the bridge loan, still leaving over $2 million. Then in terms of the changes in the bridge loan amount from the last budget workshop presentation, in case anybody's wondering, well, why did it change? Well, we have, let's see, these are reductions, aren't they? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not. Okay, so the numbers, that's in terms of the signage, so state revenue sharing is lower, so we had to use 14,882. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So we had to use more of the bridge loan because there's less state revenue sharing that we became aware of as a result of an update from the state's website. They have a forecast of these figures, so we're using the updated forecast. So we need to use almost 15,000 more for state revenue sharing, 232,000 more for the half-cent sales tax revenue. Harborage user fees, we're having to use $35,000 less of the bridge loan based on an updated revenue amount that we worked with calculating with Curtis, our harbor master. We took the actual, basically we took the actual revenue we received over the last 12 months and then used that as a projection for the next 12 months. And just the 12 months alone enabled us to increase the budget 35,000. So that's what we did. And then working with Jeff, he increased some of his revenue line items by a total of $10,000. So we need 10,000 less the bridge loan. And then water services, this is where I need, oh, it's actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke before. It's only $137,000 more of the bridge loan we need to use to make up the difference in the water fund. Okay, and then this is just general fund expenses by department. It's just to give you the overall picture. So I don't know that we necessarily have to go through all this, but it's just to have a complete presentation of the budget. So it's by department. It's a comparison of where we were at in the budget presentation to you at the workshop versus the new budget that's being proposed now with all those reductions and the changes. So this is the expense side. So if you look all the way down the line, you can see that on the expense side, it's down 1.1 million, 63,000. And do we have the revenue side? No, okay. I think I passed over that. Where's the revenue side? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I guess I thought there was a revenue slide in here, but on the revenue side, we did increase the difference between the 1.163 and the 1.19 is about $30,000 worth of additional revenue savings from the Mound House, the additional revenue from the Mound House. So I think it was a $20,000 grant and the $7,000 of donations that made up the difference. So that accounts for all the changes that we proposed for you. This is just a presentation of all the funds it's in alphabetical order by the name of the fund. So I don't know that we need to go through all of this, but so in the final amount of the general fund budget is almost 12.5 million. Total budget for all funds is like 53.1 million. Debt services, this is just something I'm required by state statute to include in the budget presentation. This is that original $10 million capital improvement note that we had a few years back. It started in 2020. We've used only 3.5 million of it. So that is all that we need to repay. And we have a fixed payment of $581,000 a year. And the interest rate's 3.15%, sorry.
And Joe, that 581, if memory serves me correct, that was budgeted and set before Ian.
Yes, it was.
That hasn't changed.
No, it has not changed. So that payment amount has not changed. It just means that we'll pay it off much sooner because we use much less of the loan than originally planned. Okay, the bridge loan, of course, we all know about the bridge loan. And this is really a recap of the same thing that I presented before. The interest rate is 10%, but that doesn't start until 2033 if we do not repay it. And it's only on whatever remaining unpaid portion there is beginning in 2033. Okay, and then the Florida State Revolving Fund. So this is just an update as to where we are now. We have 4 different loans. This is all related to the Tier 1 project and what the balances are. So the balances are for the first 2, so for drinking water, it's 12.7 million almost, and then 18.2 million. And then for the stormwater side, it's 8.5 million and 11.2 million. And then those are the payments that we will be making this coming year. So you can see between water, well, right now in this coming year, it's only 615,000 for water a year. That 1.1 million will be coming up starting 2029. So we have a few years to ramp up our revenue in order to start paying that payment at that time. Same with stormwater. Right now, it's only 373,000 a year, but beginning in 2029, we'll have an additional payment of 826,000. Okay, so I think that concludes the budget portion of that's related to this resolution, 25262. So I think at this point, you would need to decide whether or not to accept these changes, if you'd like to amend any of these changes. And then that will be what is carried forward to the next meeting, the next hearing. Whatever you decide today would be carried forward to the next for the final vote.
Scott, any questions or comments, I should say?
I'd still like to figure out a way to, Joe, thank you very much. And thank you. I mean, great job. Very detailed. You know, if we, I don't know if we want to dive into the line items again or give an overview. How would you like to direct this?
I mean, I guess to summarize, Joe, essentially what you have done is made a way to show that there is a path to no millage rate increase should we follow exactly what you just laid out today.
Yes.
I guess the discussion needs to be had as to, do you agree? We'll start with that. Or do you think there needs to be changes? For instance, there's nothing in there that's talking about planning for future reserves and reserve funding.
Yeah, that was going to be,
That's
that was going to be my biggest
this
question.
is great. And this is, but this doesn't do anything to get us ready for several things that are coming down the pipeline. You just talked about the SRF loan. That's going to significantly increase here in the next 3 to 4 years. And there's no talk in there about reserve funding, putting anything into the reserve funding. We don't even know what that total amount is at this point, do we?
Well, I can comment on the SRF situation. There is a rate study underway now that will provide us with a recommendation as to where to set the water and sewer, not sewer, water and stormwater rates going forward. And part of what they do in this study would be to anticipate the increase in the payments. And I believe there's also a possibility of another increase related to additional funding that might come through. Yeah, but that'll all be factored in, and that'll be coming soon to you. So at that point, that would be a way to take care of the water and stormwater fund. And then now your other question about reserves for, I'm assuming you're referring to like emergency fund.
So, yeah, just so a couple things. Number one, and I like what you did here with the numbers to show us how we can get back to where we need to be without a millage rate increase. But how much is going to go to that emergency fund? And based on that, are we setting our goals as a council, as a town of, we know we're underfunded. We know what happened with the end. Now, heaven forbid that doesn't happen again, but we've learned that we can't be underinsured and underfunded. It's just, you're just setting it, just like anything else. You've got to have car insurance. You've got to have medical insurance. You've got to have money for the future. So, we can't be living day to day as a town. We've got to, how do we tie everything into our long-term goal as to what our reserves need to be? I know that we've talked about, we want to be in the next couple of years up at that $5 million level for emergency funds. So we saw last year, we were going through this budget process. We got clobbered by 2 more hurricanes, and we just have to have emergency funds. So I guess my first question is, are we still looking at putting away $400,000 into that reserve fund, and what will we be with this budget for our emergency fund reserves?
It would be 500,000 is built into this budget.
Okay, giving us how much for right now?
Well, that's my concern actually right now is the emergency fund. Since I came back, that was my major concern, like where are we? So I have been working as many hours as I possibly can and trying to figure that out. And I mean, it's a long story that I don't need to take time now to explain, but there's just a lot of moving pieces, a lot of pieces of information in terms of how to really get an accurate picture of where we are, because it involves tying all the individual expense line items to specific FEMA projects. So that alone is a process. And then from there, trying to determine what estimate the amount of FEMA reimbursement if it's eligible. So it's sorting through all the expenses, trying to figure out, initially when expenses are charged to the fund, it's with the belief that it's related to the hurricane or whatever that's going on. So after the fact though, as we're sifting through it, we may find things that, well, it's really not going to be eligible for reimbursement by FEMA for whatever reason. All of that has to be sorted out. And now the funding or the projects from FEMA seem to shift as they pull one large project apart. First they merge them together, then they pull them apart depending on what is happening. So we have to constantly shift. Well, then that changes the amount of reimbursement we may be getting from them as well. So it's like a moving target. So there's that aspect of it. Also then on the accounting side, because we have, when I left, we lost pretty much the entire department immediately afterwards. And so we have a lag now, a gap of getting caught up with everything. So there's that aspect of it. So I can't just run a report and say, oh, this is where we're at. When I do run a report, it's concerning to me, but there are so many missing pieces. I don't want to say anything that's alarming or concerning or mention figures because I could be very wrong, because there could be significant journal entries that just haven't been booked yet. And that's what I need to find is search through the accounting records, like since when I left all the way through, to find out what has been posted. It's almost like doing an audit, really.
Right.
But I've only been back a few weeks, so I've not had enough time. I've been working on it as much as I possibly can, and my goal was to have something for you today. I think if I can work through now and through this weekend, because this kind of ties into what we're required to provide to the newspaper in terms of a snapshot of our budget presentation. It's supposed to include the reserves. Well, in order to know what to put in the reserve, I have to finish these calculations. So I've made significant progress, and I think between now and Monday, I can have the rest of it figured out. And this is just in terms of the reserves, in terms of calculating expected reimbursement for all the expenditures we've already incurred, and comparing that to the total amount we've incurred and seeing, okay, the difference then is what we need to absorb by our what we put in the reserve. How much of the reserve have we used up by expenses that we're not going to be reimbursed for? So that's one aspect of it. The other thing is the cash flow aspect, because we've spent millions of dollars, but we're still waiting for reimbursement. And so, I think back in the spring before I left, we already were borrowing from the bridge loan to try to shore up the emergency fund, because I was already looking like we're going to be hitting a deficit cash-wise in order to continue paying these expenses for these FEMA projects for which we're waiting for reimbursement on. So there's that aspect of it. We're also now going through an insurance audit in terms of trying to figure out where do some of these insurance payments, what FEMA projects are they attached to? And it's looking like that is going to change. And if that changes, then that changes the picture too. So that's why I wanted to bring something to you. I'm very concerned that I don't have something I can bring to you now, because this is a decision point for you. And I know your decision would also need to incorporate this. I think by Monday I should have a pretty good idea of where it will be. That doesn't help you today, but it would certainly help for the next final decision at the next hearing. So that's.
Well, I wouldn't want to tie you down, Joe, to, hey, I need it Monday, when we actually have to have it by, enough time to digest it and make our final decision on the 24th. But it's going to be very difficult for me. I can't speak for everyone else here on the dais, but to set a millage rate with not knowing for sure what, it's just like sitting down with your family budget. I can't say, hey, we can take the grandkids to Disney World if I don't have the money, or we, not you can't quit your job right now because, well, I don't know what we have as reserves. So it's going to be really tough for me to, I mean, I'm erring on the side of caution again, that we may have to be a little bit higher than we think, just to wait to get those numbers. I don't want to, I mean, so
Yeah, I guess what I'm not hearing from you, Joe, is that you don't have the warm and fuzzies, that we have plenty of money sitting in our reserve account to make you sleep at night.
I mean, I'm concerned that we may
Joe doesn't
not.
sleep.
So and I would like to prove myself wrong, and that's what I'm hoping will be the case.
no, that's fine. I mean, this is a tough decision. We've very concerned citizens here about how we're spending their money and where the money's going, and I get it, but at the same time, and I hope you folks realize that we've got to make sure we have reserves. I mean, we have to. I mean, again, lessons learned. We were underinsured and under-reserved, and it just, now we can't get to that whatever magical number we need to be to, but we've got to be on that path to get there. So that's all I have.
Is there a reason that, going back to the slide from the FDM money that was loaned to us, the $5 million to use specifically to fund projects so that the town didn't have to put out the cash flow and then pay? Is there a reason we've only used 300,000 of that and we haven't used more of that to help offset some of what you're talking about?
That's something that I would like to also look at is there a way to utilize some of that in terms of relieving the burden on the emergency fund? So there's probably more of it we can use, and that's part of the picture. I mean, in terms of actual FEMA projects, I know that we were specifically charging things that match those projects to that fund, but that was like before I left, so that was several months ago. So there could be more that's come through that maybe now we could adjust that again. And those specific line items, there's like, I don't know, let's say there's maybe 8 or 10 specific FEMA projects. That's what it was approved for, but you can use all of the money on one line item, assuming you're not overspending what was obligated. Well, see, that's the other thing, is it has to be an obligated project, and we haven't had very many of those. There's more now.
That's right.
So we may have been spending money, but you couldn't actually charge it to that until it was obligated. I forgot about that detail. So that explains probably it. But since I've left, I think there's been more obligated, so that could make it eligible.
So once it's obligated, if we've put out the capital to fund these projects because they needed to move forward without waiting for obligation, is it possible then to use that loan to repay ourselves?
Oh, yes.
Until the obligation funding actually comes in?
Yes, that's the point of it. Yes.
Do we have sufficient cash flow to do that?
Well, we've already spent.
Yeah, I mean, how is?
Well, I mean, all of the emergency expenditures are things we had to do. It wasn't something that was optional necessarily. And I think they've all been waiting to do the optional things. I mean, the things that could wait, because we know that the funding issues, but everything that pretty much has been done we had to do it then. So their expenditures, and I don't want to speak for other people, but that's my understanding. So what we spent, we had to spend it because of the emergency situation. But beyond that, there's more to do. There is more to do.
Okay.
The list is long.
The list is long. I'll let everybody else has questions. That was
Karen?
my big one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we're premature in even trying to predict what that final millage rate would be, because there seems to be a lot of moving parts still. My biggest concerns are, especially in kid programs, after school programs, summer youth programs, are we cutting too much there? I mean, these are our kids growing up in safety and that type of thing. So that one I question, as much as I love fireworks and everything else, I think that's something that we really should cut and have the Friends of Bay Oaks challenge them to get sponsors and money coming in from that type of thing. Same thing with, for your program for education, for the clerks. I think that's a no-brainer that we do not cut that at all. So I think there's adjustments that be made still, and we haven't even looked at the fees or anything like that yet. So I think we're too preliminary to even state what a proposal could be on the millage rate. And I know we've got 2 weeks where we have to make that. So I'm hoping in the next week in our meetings, our one-on-one meetings, we'll have a better picture of all of that going forward that will be presented on the 24th.
Yes.
That's all.
Well, I think what you've shown here is there is a path to less than 26% potential millage rate increase. But I think what you're hearing, we'll hear from John. And
But what
Jim as
is
well.
that yet? But we don't know.
Yeah, we'll let Jim and John have their 2 cents. Vice Mayor?
Is this our time to opine?
Oh, well, it's now or never.
Okay, so first of all, I thought the staff did an excellent job. We have a structural deficit of roughly $1.191 million. Is that fair, Joe?
Yes, correct.
And you've addressed that deficit through belt tightening. Some of those are not easy, but you've done that at the request of the council, and I appreciate it. I think you've done an excellent job. That's what the people wanted, and that's what they asked for, and that's what the council instructed you to do, and you've done that, and I appreciate it. There's a number of variables going on here, some beyond our control. The mayor mentioned the state revolving loan fund obligation. It's my understanding that that obligation will be captured by utility rates. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That happens to be one of the areas that I consult in, and utility rates, particularly in Indiana. And I can just say to my colleagues that whatever happens on the utility rate side, there's probably a 99.9% chance that the utility rates are going to go up. People are in every municipality in the country's over years back underinvested in their infrastructure, and now they're catching up as we are. We're doing a great job with it, but it doesn't come without impact. And so we'll probably see our utility rates continue to increase. That comes at a time when we're going into year 4 post-Ian. We are contributing, making a contribution to the emergency fund. Joe, in just complete candor during the one-on-ones with each counselor, at least in my session, was very open about his, just has not had the time to do the proper analysis on the emergency reserve fund. So I can, in good conscience, raise the millage rate based upon speculation that we may need more. I think, again, I think we've done what we've been asked to do. I think the staff has made the tough decisions. I commend them for it. I like where we're at. I'll certainly keep an open mind, but I think being able to keep the millage rate what it's at, given we're still recovering from a Cat 4, Cat 5 hurricane, is desirable. And again, I know utility rate increases in the offing as well. So that would be a double whammy for our folks. And if we can avoid that, I think that's desirable.
John.
I will say thank you as well. I know these weren't easy cuts to make, and it's obvious from watching you and listening to you and seeing you how much it has hurt, but I think it's been essential. And I appreciate the hard work and the effort that's gone into it. Karen, I think maybe hopefully, and I guess I don't know how it works, but if the Friends of Bay Oaks would maybe focus more on what the mayor likes to call the low-hanging fruit, such as the kids' programs instead of fireworks, I'd like to see that done before we reach that. I don't think all options have been explored yet. I think we've talked about it in the past. We've never really come to any kind of agreement about selling the old town hall property. or I don't even know where we are about the property that was purchased for the use of the proposed mooring field facilities before I got in council. I know those are considered assets, but when I looked up assets as defined by the Oxford Language Dictionary used by Google, assets are property owned by a person or a company regarded as having value and available to meet debts and commitments. And I think that's what we should be doing there. I think it would also bring a big budget revenue to us to handle these issues, and would put properties back on the tax rolls that are not being paid now. I tell you, another thing that's not been considered in when I looked at my trim notice and I talked to some other folks, we've talked about folks coming online, not just condos, but other property owners. They're losing out that storm-related tax relief they got from Lee County. And some of these folks, when they just come back online, are seeing an increase of 500% on average, I think. And that's a huge hit in addition to what we're asking now to put on top of them. I mean, I know when I wasn't in my condo and being able to use it for its full intended purposes, it was less than $100,000 that I was paying to Lee County, and now it's up over $400,000. So that's quite a hit, in addition to what we're asking for them. So I guess what I'm going to do is conclude with a quote from my favorite economist, Thomas Sowell. The real goal should be reduced government spending rather than balanced budgets achieved by ever-raising tax rates to cover ever-rising spending. And with that, I can't support an increase.
All right. Well, I'll give you my 2 cents, Joe. I agree. I think you guys have done an excellent job at finding ways to move things around, for lack of better terms. It sounds like you've been able to move funds or positions at high dollar amounts into certain areas. That being said, Bay Oaks has taken a pretty significant haircut when it comes to the services that are going to be provided to the residents. I think the low-hanging fruit obviously was the fireworks. That was a big part of it. The emergency reserve is a concern for me. We have not increased the millage rate since the storm. Other municipalities have. We've been fortunate enough to get a lot of funding through appropriations, both at the federal and the state level. That's not going to be there much longer, if at all. Vice Mayor, you'd mentioned, you can't raise a millage increase on what ifs. Well, we can't make decisions on what if they don't forgive that bridge loan. That's a cost that's going to be coming down the pipe that we have to pay back at 10% interest. Those are all things. So, we can't move forward in my mind, assuming that that's going to be forgiven. Now, next year, maybe it will be forgiven. We certainly will do what we have to do to try to make that happen. But I think you've done a significant job of reducing what the potential millage rate may have to be ultimately. But I haven't been sold that there hasn't had to be one yet. I mean, you haven't had time to do your analysis. We don't have to make a final decision today on what exactly it is. We have not heard from Will. I would love to hear from our town manager, who's been pretty quiet and let his directors, rightfully so, do what they have to do to make. But at the end of the day, he is the CEO. He is the one that has to make sure this works. He is the one that gets the emails from all of us, and when we receive them from you sitting out there, of why isn't my grass mowed? Why isn't this taken care of? And all these cuts are part of those reasons. Why isn't Bay Oaks open? Why can't I go there on a Friday at 5 o'clock? Because there's nobody there to allow me to go in and work out. Or why do my kids not have a place to go after school? These are all things that are hard decisions that we have to make. So, Will, I'd like to hear from you. Sorry, I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I didn't let you know I was going to do this, but I think you would agree that staff has done a great job of taking a bite out of that 26%. But do you feel comfortable in moving forward at this point by saying we shouldn't raise it at all, based on the uncertainty of his final analysis on emergency reserve funding?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. What I'll first say is echo what I appreciate every member of council has highlighted is you tasked me and tasked us to go back and look at the revenues, look at expenses, look at everything across the board. and find efficiencies, find opportunities. And I challenged the staff, who's worked very hard over the past several weeks, every day, really, and then coming back to me twice a week as we discussed each one of these things in detail. And they did an excellent job, and I think presenting to you here today, like they did with me through the whole process we went through the last several weeks, to identify the impacts and the risks. I asked them to. I think they did that very well. I know, to your question about comfortable, no, I won't be comfortable, but that's okay. I mean, if the ultimate decision is to not raise it, to hold pat, or not give me a raise in the millage rate that I initially proposed, no, it wouldn't be comfortable. But that, again, you give us the guidance, we're going to make it happen. They're going to make this mission happen. I don't feel good about cutting programs at Bay Oaks. Bay Oaks is an important resource for this community. We do see the usage starting to tick back up. It is, I think, a value added, not just for the residents, but for the people that visit us as well. And there's some significant things in there that Jeff and his team are looking at, are going to have to cut back on, and efficiencies that he'll find. At the same time, as he talked about, and some of you asked him, he is looking at ways to offset some of those personnel cuts, some of those to retain some of those programs through using technology, and maybe just challenging his staff in different ways. But it'd be really hard to do, and it would be one of the areas where I would look to utilize some of that additional funding, if appropriated by the council, is to retain some of those positions for Bay Oaks. I do think they're that important. And Mound House as well, a significant asset to this community and resource that brings in, it's not only the revenue maybe that it brings in or doesn't bring in to some people's opinion, but just the visibility that it brings to our community in many ways as they go out and about and tell its story, but then also people come here for that reason. Tom made some significant sacrifices. I challenged him to in that community policing fund. We had allocated additional money, Mr. Mayor, that I spoke to you about in the past to that for this coming year. But in discussions with Tom, and you've all mentioned this, he's done an excellent job of building a strong relationship with our emergency services partners, our law enforcement partners across the community, and also training his staff and to be able to take on more of those responsibilities themselves. I feel very good after discussions with him that we can reduce some of the sheriff services that we have been asking Lee County to do, and shift some of those responsibilities to Tom's staff with the additional training he's given them. And if you do approve the additional money through emergency lighting for some of his vehicles, extremely important for the safety of our officers, the safety of our community members as they're responding to emergency situations across the island or supporting special events. But also it goes to that cost savings. The more that we can do with his officers, the less we have to ask of our Lee County Sheriff or Fire Department partners. Across the other things, everybody, has community services, community development, looked at great ways to shift resources, and everybody across the board, and human resources did a tremendous job supporting our directors in finding those efficiencies and reallocating the funds we use for some of those positions. It was hard. It's difficult. They were very professional here tonight, very stoic in how they presented this data, but it hurts. It hurts each and every one of them to get up there and talk to you about some of these cuts, because that's how much, the services they provide to the community mean so much to them. They want to be able to do it to the best of their ability, but at the same time, they completely understand our job is not to be, we're not a for-profit organization. We are a service organization, and our job is to service the community as efficiently as we can.
All right. Well, I guess, I'll just reiterate, I'm not comfortable at this time stating that I would not support some increase. I am comfortable in stating I would not support a 26% increase. But I would like the time to be able to, and I don't know, maybe that you can help, Nancy. Is it something that we would have to adjust today? Is it what a rate is to move forward, and that could potentially move down or up based on having the ability to finish your analysis, as well as some of the talks and changes that we had talked about today to shore up those numbers to be able to come back to us with, or would it make it easier to say, here's an idea, a compromise, if you will, of somewhere in the middle to come back, and it could change next week or 2 weeks. Nancy, I know there's a long-winded question.
Can I ask a quick question before Nancy goes?
Sure, if you turn your mic on.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you raised an issue that certainly is close to my heart. It's debt. And you talked about this bridge loan may or may not be forgiven. And it's a potential reason to adjust the millage rate. In my one-on-one with Joe, and this is where I need some help, Joe, I was under the impression that the legislature gave us an appropriation that's available to us if necessary to pay that bridge loan off, at least in part, a significant part. Is that the case?
That's true. There's, I think, roughly 7.6 million that we received.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that because I don't like carrying debt. I don't like being dependent upon the legislature to forgive debt, but it sounds like we have a plan, if necessary, to address at least in part that issue. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly, because that is a real concern.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's a good, better, best thing, right? We're planning for the worst, but hoping for the best. And if we're fortunate enough to have that bridge loan forgiven, that frees that capital up to do some of these things that need to be done, that need to be to pay for, to be obligated, to be able to use some of that $5 million funding and other things that we talked about. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but you can't hope. I think I heard you say it the other day, and it's a very good terminology. Hope is not a strategy, and it really hits home here. And I would hate to not have a strategy to be able to make sure that you have the time to do your job, to ensure that we make the right decision for our community. And with that, I'll kind of go back to you, Nancy.
Mayor, before we
Yes,
do
sir.
that, can I, because we asked the town manager, and I know that I and you and Karen gave Will some lists of possible revenue avenues outside of ad valorem taxes or millage rate. Where did those get explored? Because all I've heard is cuts tonight. I haven't heard of anything of growing revenue. I know, Mayor, you talked about possibly shifting more of those things to visitors, and I didn't hear that tonight, and I want to know where we are on that.
Well, I think you covered it a little bit as far as those would be fees, not right versus a revenue. Would they be-
Not everything
or-
I gave to, I was just using that as an
Yeah, yeah,
example, but
okay.
not everything I gave to the manager was about visitors.
No, thanks, John. No, not everything was on fees. Fees could be some revenue, of course, but it doesn't, as Joe articulated early on, doesn't help with the bridge loan or the deficit at this current. Doesn't help with the deficit at this current time because of the bridge loan. However, we did look, as you charged us, at maybe looking for some other sources of revenue where we could pass costs, maybe, costs away from residents, costs on to visitors, costs, things like that. We're limited as a municipality in Florida and what we can, what kind of fees, i.e. or taxes we could impose on tourists. Extremely limited through our research. I don't have the ability to do that. Other areas that we can look at and we are looking at, just haven't really had the time to figure out how we would enact such things, or there's very limited areas, very few areas, such as our, we do already have a fee for our short-term rentals registrations. There are potential areas where we could there potentially consider some community impact type fees on some of those type of visitors to the island, as in the impact that it has on the community, public works, security, safety, things like that. I haven't made any proposals like that because there's still research that needs to be done. We need to discuss what the overall impact would be and really what the total revenue might look at to see if that would be a path we'd want to go down. Other than that, there's, it was discussed before, potentially some beverage resource, beverage and resort fees and taxes and things like that. We can't, what I found was we can't impose any additional taxes like that because there are already taxes imposed by county and state or state on things like that. And the state limits closely municipalities, which can tax above and beyond that. We would have to basically request through the county and through the state as a municipality if we wanted to develop our own similar type of tourism tax. I don't know if that answers all your questions, sir.
It gives me, yeah, because the list I gave you was approved by the state, but again, I wasn't, I just had gleaned that from looking at their, the revenue website, the state revenue website. So I just, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
So Nancy, I just want to go back to you.
Yes.
Do you need me to restate my question?
No, I think
Okay.
I've got it. The way that the statutes are set up is basically your initial vote and direction is to establish the maximum millage rate. So tonight, what we're talking about is a tentative rate, which cannot exceed the earlier amount that you identified. I do believe that you do have the flexibility when you get to your final to vary that.
I think what I don't want to speak for you, Dan, but I think what he's asking is, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but if we say, okay, let's agree on 10, and then Joe comes back and says, wait, I found some other stuff, and with our meetings the next 2 weeks, we decide we're going to keep a couple extra programs, we're going to do this, that. If we say tonight, it's only going to be 10 or none. Let's say none. And in 2 weeks, can we say, well, now we've really got to raise it to 10,
Well,
knowing
it's-
that our ceiling's 25, 26.
You're talking about the rate itself. I'm looking at the millage.
Yes.
Yes.
So
you cannot.
so our max is 26. And I guess what our question is, if tonight we say, no, we're not going to raise it, then we come back and find out we actually need money or that we actually do need to raise the millage rate, can in 2 weeks say,
Well, you're saying 26.
Six.
I'm looking at 1.2550.
He's talking
mils.
percent.
Percentage.
Yeah,
But-
so
so-
you could not go over this millage. I can't do the
So I-
math. I mean, you
but
would
again, the
have to
question
know.
is, if whatever we decide tonight, can we go higher next week as long as it's below the
Yes.
1 point?
As long as it's below the 1.2550. That's also an
Yeah.
option. That may be the better approach.
You don't do 0.99 and then want to go up to 1.255.
Yeah.
You just keep it where it's at and then lower it.
That would make it easier going forward.
Well, I want to go back to, and I understand what you're saying. Don't go down to zero and then you have to find out
Go
in
back
2 weeks
up.
that the emergency reserve funding is worse than had
You need to be
anticipated.
on mic.
But what I'm getting at is, say we say we'll just cut it in half for simple mathematics. We're going to say 13% with the discussion in 2 weeks that it's going to go down. So we can at least give people the understanding that we're working in the right direction. I agree with you. I don't know that saying zero today and then trying to go backwards because something changes between now and 2 weeks from now. But I would feel comfortable in coming down off that 26% because I think you have done a great job at showing there has been ways to alleviate what that overall percentage should be. So I'm willing to do that. But I'm not willing to go to zero today. Does that make, and to your point, I don't want to have to go down and then go back up.
Cassandra Penner for the record, budget manager. You're already at the not to exceed rate of 1.255. So if you just keep it where it's at, it's just staying where you're at from previous.
And I totally understand that from a mathematics standpoint. I get that. But what I'm trying to do is let our residents know that there have been significant reductions that can be made outside of some of the things that we talked about, the Bay Oaks programming, the mooring field, these other things that we've talked about, the emergency reserve fund. There's things there that are still outstanding that I think, to me at least personally, need answers to. So that gives you time to be able to go back, readjust what we talked about today, to come back and say, and again, I'll just use a middle number, 13% cut in half, just use it as an easy number. based on that, we can do this, this, and this, but we have, based on what I have found out now, we can still come down from that, and this would be our new recommendation, and then we can make a policy decision from there. That's kind of the strategy I'm trying to get at to see if it makes sense.
If it would help, Mr. Mayor, I add, if it's okay, that I agree, there's still some things that I would like the council to consider as they take this forward tonight and in the coming weeks. To your point, you multiple of you have mentioned the emergency fund, but also there's things that we want to be able to fund going forward, that, infrastructure repairs such as road repairs, which is a significant cost for us every day and all the time, that we already operate on a very thin margin of that, but have to do it every day, as any member of this community knows. Sometimes we get an appropriation from the state, but it's usually a 50% match.
Yes.
If I haven't planned, as the town manager and Joe as the budget manager, to have the money for those matches, then we're not going to be able to get the 50% from the state. So these are some things that I'm concerned about as a town manager. Additionally, we just finished the great renourishment project on the beach. We have some money coming from grant money to help with some of our additions to that, and the parks and some of the beach access stuff. But we're going to need more going forward to continue to develop our beach accesses and make it, to bring those tourists to the island. These are things I'm thinking about, where if we did increase some of the revenue through a millage, that's how we would responsibly, use that funding. And also for context, so the 1.255 would bring us in, as discussed in the last budget workshop, 1.191 million in additional revenue this next year. That's if we leave it at the cap that you set for us last time. And then, basically everything below that, that revenue obviously comes down. So if somewhere in the middle of that, if you were to go down to say a 1.029, that would bring us in, just 177,000 additional in revenue. So there's a significant difference in the amount of revenue, obviously, because it's percentage based, that would bring in. But even a small amount would bring us an additional revenue. And you've asked, how would I, as a town manager, allocate that most appropriately to the town? I look at some of the things, whatever the counselors direct us to, or ask priorities. And I've heard several tonight that we can take back and really be able to give you a good assessment how you would do that, whether it be replacing, not making some of the staff cuts so we can save some of those essential programs, or having the money to invest in infrastructure programs like I mentioned. So the table, if you want to know, we can walk it down all the way from 1.255 all the way down to where we're currently at, which would be a no increase. We've already factored in the 0.99 to our current budget proposal to you. So from there all the way up to the 1.255, we have a table that we can answer what those would be.
Well, and I think you raise a valuable point that we haven't discussed yet, and that's the 50% match that it seems the state appropriation requests have all kind of gone to. Last year's was a 50% match. That funding is not, because we don't know if we're going to get it. So we don't know, we won't have the funding if we don't plan ahead for what we're going to ask for. And I use the cutting your legs out from under you. I don't like to cut the legs out from under you, and until we have to make a final decision. I guess I would be looking to staff for direction. I've kind of said where I feel Jim and John have kind of said where they're at. John and Karen, if you'd like to before we continue down a path to make a decision to move back, I'd like to hear from you as to where you're at. 0, 26, somewhere in the middle. You've heard from John, unless they have changed their mind in the last 10 minutes. We'll just assume they're preferring to go to 0 increase. I told you I'm willing to go somewhere between 0 and 26, but I'm not comfortable with going to 0. Karen, you want to go first?
I mean, in a perfect world, we wouldn't want to increase anything. I mean, that's reality, but it's not a reality. And like I said, I don't think that we are fully baked yet in a position to decide to keep it at the 1.255. What is a happy medium? 1.12 is like at the mid-road and leaving room that we could still fluctuate from that based on what other information we're getting. I would love to know, because I'm not a math whiz, Scott, at 1.12, what extra is that from what we,
Behalf of 600,000.
About
so
half a million,
600,000, so
600,000.
yeah, okay. So it'd be a 600,000 increase to do the kind of things that Will was talking about. Is that enough? Is it not enough? Is it too much? That will come out in the next 2 weeks.
Well, I think if you just, and going back to the state appropriations, not to jump in there, but if you look at what was appropriated this year, we're looking at roughly $800,000 of match that we would have to pay
That's correct.
on top of, so just.
So that would cover our match.
Or would be closer, right? So it's, and those are infrastructure projects. Those are stormwater, that's, water tower stuff.
Yes,
that's
Mr. Mayor,
critical.
that's
critical
stormwater, that's
repairs.
roads, that's water, exactly. Water towers, not water fund, but
Right.
yes.
Scott?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to make a decision right now based on not knowing what our emergency funds are going to be. And like Karen said, we want to be, we don't, in a perfect world, we don't want to raise taxes. I don't want to raise taxes.
I don't know anybody that does.
And I like Thomas Sowell as much as Mr. King. I mean,
And follow the brother.
Well, sometimes John, he, unfortunately, Mr. Sowell didn't get hit by a Category 5 hurricane, was underinsured and under-reserved. Yeah, he wasn't prepared. So I would be comfortable, if we can cover that 700,000 of that 50% grant, and let's see where we are in 2 weeks, and let's have further discussions and see where we go. And our ultimate goal is to, as Will said, run efficiently, but we still have to make sure things are covered.
All right. So, Will, you said you're prepared for every number.
Somewhat.
You know,
Sorry, now I qualified it and said somewhat, but
based on what Councilor Safford just said, looking at just using that as the number to work off of as far as percentages to cover our match for the appropriations from last year. To meet that, what would that percentage?
the
on your-
1.12, is that what?
No, we know what that is.
Oh.
We know what that is, but to
For
get
the
it down
seven-
to say the 700.
Say the
let's
700,
700,000 roughly.
the 700K,
On the
Cassandra, I
little
think we
sheet
can.
there, just over 13. Oh, I guess we could ask the
Last,
finance.
I'll
wizard
have to
over
ask the true budget
Finance
expert.
there. Yeah, that's fair enough.
It would be 1.15. That would get you about 719,000.
Okay. I mean, I could live with that to move forward to the next meeting.
Yeah, I could as well. And again, for people watching, people here, our goal is to, not raise taxes, but we still have to make sure that we've just in case, we've got ourselves covered. Because if we're not covered, then we're back to where we were before.
And my hope would be in 2 weeks, Joe, you could come back with warm and fuzzies and say, look what I found.
I'm hoping to.
Section 2.
John, Jim, do you have any input on that part of it?
Look, I'm not in the demagoguery business. I understand your position. I took that position a month ago and gave our new town manager, who was very new at the time, and Joe had been back 4 days, and they asked for a 26% potential millage rate increase. And, I wanted to be supportive of them and give them an opportunity to sharpen their pencils and to dig into the budget. And they have done so, and I think admirably so. And I think that's why we're here tonight, is to adjudicate the results of their findings. And And I think they've done an admirable job, and I support those findings. And I think that's where I'm going to be.
Fair enough. John, anything else you want to add?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. All right. So we'll wait for Nancy to come back. So if memory serves me, we would have to table this tentative budget and go back to setting the millage
That is
rate.
correct. And I believe you already read the title to the resolution.
I did.
I was speaking with our budget specialist, and we will be making a change to section 2 to reflect what the proposed millage rate is that you are selecting. And that would be the tentative.
Okay. So is there a motion to table resolution 25-263 for fiscal year 2026 tentative budget?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Safford. I'll second it. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Just a parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Mayor. This is just a procedural.
Just procedural
It is.
to table it, yeah.
So you can go back and set your millage rate and then come back and adopt a budget that is supportive of that millage
Aye.
rate. And there will be public comment before your final votes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Do I need to take a motion to reopen the first one or? can we? Okay. Is there a motion to reopen item A, resolution 25-262 for the fiscal year 2026 proposed millage rate?
So moved.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
Nay.
Okay.
And now I'm
It's just
confused.
to open.
Yeah, it's
procedural
just to
to
open
back up.
the discussion.
I apologize.
Yeah, this is just a procedural to open it back up.
I apologize. Aye.
Then I will
So
go
is that
aye
a
as
yes?
well.
Okay, it's an aye. So that motion carries unanimously to procedurally
To
open back
reopen.
up. the
Okay,
millage
very
rate.
good.
I get it. It's
I
confusing.
drifted for a minute.
No, it's
Nope, that's all
confusing.
right. So, I know, but every year we go through the same thing back and forth. You'd think they would change it, but anyway. So now I don't need to reread the resolution again, do I?
No, however, the question is, or the question before council is what millage rate are you going to propose? That would be by motion, at which point finance would need to reread section 2 if it is something other than 1.2550 mils.
And again, it doesn't mean that it can't go down, it can't move from that.
Correct. It's still
It's
tentative.
still tentative until
It
the
is not
next meeting.
final. However, I believe that you are required to take public comment even on the tentative
Okay.
adjustment.
Not to exceed. So you want us to make the motion first or do public comment before we do a motion like we normally do?
Well, I think the public needs to know kind of what your thoughts are, so perhaps you go ahead and make your motion.
Okay. Scott, would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we set the tentative proposed millage rate to be finalized at our September 24th meeting at 5:01 PM to 1.115 mils.
1.15.
No, 1.15.
I thought I said that, 1.15 mils.
1.1500.
Yeah, 00 mils, yes.
Okay. And motion by Counselor Safford. I'll second. Further discussion. Now we can open for public
Public
comment.
comment.
Okay, public comment. Anyone would like to speak? Yes, ma'am, come on up. You've got 3 minutes.
I understand.
Welcome back, Susan.
Thank you.
Is it Susan or Suzanne?
I go by Sue, but my name is Susan.
Okay, Sue.
So I know that we have a lot of smart people here. I recognized you from after Hurricane Ian, helping me out with food. Thank you very much for that. Coming up with a budget shortfall shouldn't be really that difficult. We have maybe 25% of the people that were living here before are even here now. We have so many vacant lots. And now that you guys have continued on with the TPP for now, it'll be a total of 5 years. Just like this gentleman, he doesn't live here. The majority of, I went to 5 trailers in my neighborhood, 5. Not a single one of them are compliant. Some of them have been permitted by the town for people that live in Illinois. So we talk about all of our pet projects. They're important. I love turtles. I love the beach, or we wouldn't be here. I am a disabled person. I trained in Homeland Security. I had to do an oath to protect people's lives. You guys have put people's lives in danger. These people that you gave a permit to, this is their property flooded. As a disabled federal employee, I've had to go through Hurricane Helene to go drag them out. They're still there. They told me they like living in a trailer and they don't have to pay for homeowners insurance. They don't have to pay for flood insurance. Why would they have to pay for more in property tax? Because they don't have a home on it. If you guys would actually make people do something with their properties, you would actually get money for your revenue. When you have a property on it, they have to pay taxes. But instead, I am now off my, I can no longer get an NFIP program, and you guys aren't eligible for it. So you guys are talking about the loans that you might get or the money that you might get or not get from FEMA. You are officially not eligible. You're not in compliant. So if we have another Ian, and it'll happen, we'll have another hurricane. We've already had 2 more since Ian. The big grabbers that came and pulled all your property out, you're no longer eligible for it. And you can thank every one of these people for voting to allow these temporary trailers to be there. So I'm begging you, do not endanger people. And you're also going to be liable for a class action lawsuit when all of us can no longer, I have an SBA loan. I actually have to have flood insurance and put them on as additional insured. What is going to happen with my SBA loan when I'm no longer eligible to be in the flood program? So simple things like that, enforcing parking. I had a drunk person walk right in front of me and during the Mullet Fest because I don't even see police officers anymore. There'll be over 30 cars parked in vacant lots and no one patrols them. I've called parking enforcement. If you guys were just to tow them or in charge of fee, those things are great ways to get our tax money back. You guys enforced them before the hurricane, but now it's day vacationers all day long. You're not going to get the revenue. Another great way to come up with a revenue shortcut, may I finish this, is to go with temporary housing. I lived in California briefly, and I did have a vacation rental there. What I would do is every quarter, let's say the first quarter of every year, I would have to do a tax return on my revenue. So anybody 30 days or under were considered a transient. And
Thank
what
you.
those
Thank you, Sue.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
And I just want to make one point of clarity. Normally, we don't do this if my council members are okay with me proceeding a little bit out of order. Your comment about the National Flood Insurance Program is not true. You are not in, ma'am, you're not in risk of not the big black trucks not coming. That is not true. If anybody is telling you that, it is not true.
It's public information. It's Google AI. I respectfully disagree with you. Thank you.
Well, everything on Google must be true. Yes, ma'am.
You need to come to the mic, ma'am.
You got to come up to, ma'am, you got to come up to the.
I'm Jackie Velasquez again. Okay, so I had 2 children born and raised on the island, and we enjoyed Bay Oaks and all the activities. But I will tell you that now my daughter goes to college at FGCU, and I pay. So I'm really not, thrilled about my tax dollars giving someone else education when you could just hire somebody that's already certified just for that. But, and also Heights does have an after-school program, but FGCU is a major water university. And I know for a fact that a lot of those kids are trying to, they're on the Bright scholarships, Bright Futures scholarships, and they have to volunteer. They need programs. And I don't see why somebody couldn't, be trained to do the Mound House, tours. I've taken one. It was wonderful. And our guide was very informative and we enjoyed it immensely. But, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's so loud. So, my big thing is with the tax increase, I just want you guys to stop wasting the tax dollars money, like sand dunes. That was such a catastrophe. They're gone now. I mean, just over this past little tropical storm that we had over the weekend, the south end of the beach flooded again. Did the beach renourishment really work? Is it going to work when we really get an impact? Probably not. That was a lot of money. I understand you guys get grants and it, pays for things, but, maybe just be mindful, and, our finance, you did a great job. Thank you very much. It was very informative, but I did hear a lot of taking from Peter to pay Paul, but you allowed some extra money to be used in other places. Like it seemed like there was extra money for policing left when you move some of those funds around, which is a good thing because then maybe they could have it for the fireworks or, I'm confident you're going to find ways to do this and keep us in budget, because if it was your own business, you guys would be bankrupt and have to close. So, I want to put my faith in all of you and I wish you luck. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
One last time. I got
Say your name, please, for the record.
Cliff Gallagher. I had listened to the previous lady, not this lady, about me not living on the beach. I've lived here about 8 months a year for the past 10 years. And what I've done is paid 10% increase every year in taxes, while people who actually have a home here only pay 3% increases. So, okay, that's what the law says. If you're not a Florida resident living in your permanent home, you have to pay up to 10%. And that's what I've been paying since 1989. So when these hurricanes come through, I come down here. I stayed in a motor home with my son, and we worked and we worked and we worked to get everything taken care of. Nobody gave me anything. FEMA gave me nothing. FEMA gave me nothing. I don't carry flood insurance, and I'm probably going to drop hurricane insurance. I just spent $25,000 to put a new metal roof on my home. You do what you can do. And if the home gets blown away, I have to go into my savings and replace it. So, there's a lot of us that do the exact same type of thing with their properties, keep their property up. We're not the bad guys because we're not full-time residents. I'm going to make my wife a full-time resident so we don't have to pay appreciation when we sell this house. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. Anyone else like to speak in public comment? Seeing none, well, yes.
Provide the amended numbers for that section 2 of the resolution and announce that.
So in section 2 of the resolution.
Cassandra, state your name again for the record.
Cassandra
Okay.
Penner, budget manager. In section 2 of the resolution 25-262, it will need to state the town council does hereby adopt the proposed operating ad valorem millage rate for fiscal year 25-26 at 1.150 mils, which is 1.15 for each thousand of assessed valuation. The current year rolled back rate is 0.8954 mils. The proposed operating millage rate is 28.43% greater than rollback.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there anything else we need to add to that, Nancy?
No, sir. I think that the title of the resolution itself did identify the date and the time for the second and the final public hearing on the millage rate. So I think you've made every announcement that needs to be made.
Okay. We have a motion by Counselor Safford, seconded by Mayor Allers. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Aye. I'm an aye as well. Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderhall?
No.
Counselor King?
Nay.
The motion carries 3-2. Can I get a motion to reopen Resolution 25-263 fiscal year 2026 for the tentative budget?
So moved.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Counselor Safford?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Counselor King or Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderhall? Just reopening.
Aye.
Counselor King?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries unanimously. Now we have the Resolution 25-263 for the fiscal year 2026 tentative budget. So Nancy, are we just making a motion then to,
Yes, but again, the
Public comment.
opportunity for public comment.
okay,
The motion is basically based on the adjustments that you've heard this evening from the finance department director.
okay. Scott, you want to make that motion or do you want?
Where'd it go? Hold on.
Somebody's ringing.
It's not me. So what, so it's the same, correct?
Essentially, right, Nancy? The same.
It's the same with the adjustments that that they're proposing.
They haven't made the adjustments on the screen yet, but.
If that is the will of council.
It's, well, that's where I think we need clarification, Nancy. So the budget cuts that they recommended tonight
Yes.
are going to change based on the new millage rate, the tentative millage rate we just
Correct,
approved.
because the tentative millage rate will take care of those.
So would the motion be then to set the tentative budget to the proposed numbers based on the proposed millage rate, the tentative millage rate, or what would the motion be? Or how would you
To
prefer it to be
approve the
worded?
resolution with the proposed changes that they have presented to
So
you.
I'll try to make a motion and then let me know if you-
Because
if
the
this-
millage rate that you adopted would cover that.
So, okay.
It wouldn't, if I can clarify.
Please, yeah, please.
It wouldn't cover all of it, but I mean, we can adjust our budget proposal
Yes.
or
Will is correct.
our recommended adjustments to coincide with the new established
Got it.
not to
Okay.
exceed rate. We could come back with that proposal.
Okay, so let's see if I can try to take a stab at this. I will make a motion to approve resolution 25-263 fiscal year 26 for the tentative budget to coincide with the adjusted numbers based on the millage rate being set at a tentative 1.15 mil. Is that a way to, okay?
It is. The only issue is we're not sure. I don't know what budget is being attached to the resolution.
This is why she said we should have dropped it.
Yeah, probably.
The resolution was based on the same budget that was presented at the budget workshop. So it's the exact same budget as that was presented there. So now the list of amendments that we've presented to you is an amendment to what was presented at the workshop budget. It's the same budget.
But Joe, doesn't that get us to no increase in the millage rate?
Oh, yes. I mean, I thought you were asking a different question. Maybe I'm not answering the right question. I thought you were asking what budget
Well, I think where
is
the
attached.
conundrum is here is you didn't present a budget today based on the new tentative
Right.
millage rate that we set. And I think that's what Nancy's trying to get at.
Yes, because your proposed resolution does have an attached Exhibit A, which is a tentative annual budget, which should be consistent with the millage rate.
And the tentative budget you originally introduced was a 26% increase in the millage rate. So
That's true.
I don't think
Right.
you want to match that up with this new millage rate.
No, we have to know how to change.
Yep.
change the budget.
So the key thing is how to draft the motion. I think I don't have the answer.
Yeah, that's why I'm leaning on Nancy for help. I didn't know the way, I thought the way that I said it worked, but
Do you want us to
Sounded good.
repeat it? I mean, we're looking at the resolution. My concern is that the resolution does have attached to it an Exhibit A to adopt the tentative annual budget for fiscal year 2025-26, attached here to and incorporated as Exhibit A. So because we made the reduction in the millage rate, the budget that's currently attached, I don't think that's been adjusted, or has it?
it is not.
No, it has not. I mean, all that we did was present to you the proposed adjustments.
Mhm.
That's all that was presented to you. So I guess in addition to those would be to increase it to accommodate this increase in the millage rate.
Well, it is a tentative budget that you would be adopting. And you are going to give direction to staff to come back and amend that for the final.
Yes.
Can you just strike the Exhibit A part and would that cover it?
But then what are you adopting this evening?
The tentative annual, okay, never mind.
Should we go back?
I'm
to
not
the
adopting
budget?
anything. How's that?
Well, I think yes.
So perhaps it could be, the motion could be made to adopt the resolution, adopting the tentative budget as attached as Exhibit A with correction or with adjustments to be consistent with the millage rate.
Which is what I believe my original motion was.
But you
I think I
haven't really-
used the word coincide with the adopted.
The only issue I have, Mayor, would be that what kind of direction do you want to give them? Do you want to give them more specific direction on how to make that consistent? Or just leave it in their discretion to make it
Well,
and then bring it
I
back?
thought I said, but if not, I can restate it in my motion that to be consistent with our conversation today,
Okay, I can, that's fine.
because I think you're going to have to go back and obviously there's a lot of discussion about certain areas and that potential millage rate would allow you to adjust the things that were discussed here today to be able to come back at the next meeting and say, based on what we heard from the first meeting, here's where we can make adjustments based on this new tentative millage rate, and here's where the money's going, and here's what this attachment A or Exhibit A would be now.
Yes, that would work.
Okay, so I'll restate my motion again. I will make a motion to approve Resolution 25-263 for fiscal year 26 tentative budget to coincide Exhibit A to match the previously adopted tentative millage rate of 1.150 mils based on the discussion here today from the council
And the adjustments.
and the adjustments.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Public comment,
Got a
right?
motion by Mayor Howard, seconded by Councilor Safford. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
excuse me, can you restate the millage rate, please? I think you might have misspoke it a little bit.
The millage rate that was tentatively set was 1.150.
Thank you.
Yes.
And is there public comment, Mayor,
We already took public comment.
on this one?
Not on this one.
We didn't?
No.
We did on the millage rate.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll open it up. I thought we did. I thought he just spoke. Sorry.
It's a new one.
That's okay. We will open it up for public comment. Yes, sir. Come on up. Come on up, Cliff.
Back up
You
to
got to
the-
come up to the mic, Cliff. We're going to get to know you.
Official document here from the.
Very good. You got to state your name.
assessor's office.
Got to state your name again. Sorry, Cliff. Not that we
Cliff
don't-
Gallagher. The millage rate for the town of Fort Myers Beach is 1.2550 on this document.
That was the proposed.
I'm sorry?
That was the proposed,
The maximum.
the maximum proposed.
Okay.
So
So
is,
you have a lower rate that you're,
right, so
That-
right,
That's your proposal, sir? That's your proposal?
no, I'm just saying.
That's his trim.
That's
notice.
what I
Right, that's your
see.
trim notice. That's not the official.
that's not the final.
Okay,
That's
that's
not the
not
final
what you're
fund.
proposing.
No,
No.
sir.
Okay.
But that's just a,
how can I say
That's
it?
the cap.
That's your, that's the max.
A good guess.
That's the worst case scenario. How about
Okay.
that?
Yes.
All right.
And now we've just brought it down.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, no, we brought it down a
propose
little bit.
something that's
No,
not-
that was the,
not
dis-
that-
no, that was the discussion today, so.
Okay.
Yeah. If anyone else like to speak public comment? Either of you two? No? All right, we'll close public comment. We have a motion by Mayor Aller, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? I'm an aye. Counselor Safford?
Aye.
Counselor Woodson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt?
No.
Counselor King?
No.
The motion carries 3-2. That brings us to our last item, which is Resolution 25-264, Fiscal Year 26 Tentative Fee Schedule. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach adopting the tentative fee schedule for fiscal year 2025-2026, commencing October 1st, 2025, and ending on September 30th, 2026, and providing for an effective date. Joe?
Well, thank you, Joe Wanzik, Finance Director. What we're just about to give to you the presentation on the proposed fee changes. Oh, here we go. Okay. It's a lot quicker than I thought it would be. Thank you, Josh.
Handout.
Okay.
More
So what Cassandra has done is very carefully, she's gone through the proposed changes to the fee schedule. There's several of them. So I think we can go through them. If there's any questions related to specific ones, I think maybe the department heads who are oversee those areas might be able to help answer them. So I think I'm going to be looking this way since I can read it better. So we have the first group would be under administrative actions. So we're proposing to raise the zoning verification letter fee from $250 to $350. And you can stop me at any point if you have a question, and we could have the associated department head answer for you. Okay, we have the residential zoning requests is going to go $25 for first 15 minutes of staff time, $10 for each additional 15-minute increments of staff time to $0. And I think there's explanations for this that probably could be provided. Sign permits, up to 2 signs. It says 100 per building permit fees is applicable, 25 each additional, that's going to $0. Garage sale permit was 10, is going to $0. Administrative relief, 500 is going to $0. Development agreement, original agreement, $5,000 to $0. Development agreement amendment, $2,500 to $0.
Why are those going to $0?
Right.
So
Frankie? Yeah, thank you.
So a lot of these fees, like Frank Eager Project, Community Development, a lot of these fees are getting regrouped. So it, lack of a better term, a package. So instead of being piecemealed out, when you come in for these items, you're going to be charged one fee.
So it's just being moved into a different bucket to make it
Correct.
much
It
easier.
was a
to-
lot easier to keep track of internally. And then also as far as someone coming in for these services, that they know ahead of
One
time
fee.
exactly what they're getting.
Makes sense. I just wanted clarification. I figured that's what you were doing.
Yes, sir.
Next slide then. So these would be code enforcement related fees. So recording fees, we're going from $24 to cost plus 10%. Lien search fee is going from $50 to $100. And development order amendment going from $775 to $1,000.
Inundated.
Need a moment?
More than that.
Is that Thomas Sowell?
Any questions on these changes, or should I go forward?
Any questions? Keep moving.
Okay, this would be related to development orders. So we're going for a development order amendment, $775 to $1,000. The next item is type 2, any out-of-door recreational facilities, provided the total cumulative additional impervious area does not exceed 8,000 square feet, is going from $350 to $500. Type 4, any single building accessory improvements thereto on a single non-conforming lot is defined in LD section 34-3271B, is going from 500 to 0. Type 8, any other improvement to land determined by the director to have insignificant impacts on public facilities is going from $1,100 to $2,000. LDO amendment is going from $50 to $0, and stormwater review, if it is deemed necessary, will be the actual charge. Any questions on this slide? Okay. Moorefield, the weekly rate would be established at $175. There was not previously a rate.
And is this gonna, you're going to look at that proposed 60,000 to adjust that for the second reading? Okay.
And the lost key fob will be a fee of $25 will be imposed. Parking fees, annual rate, residential Estero Island property owner is going from $25 to $50. Business owner annual fee will go from $50 to $100. Parking bags per bag is going to go from $6 to $20. Parking decal, lost, stolen, replacement is going to go from $5 to $10. A license fee, $100 per spot, first calendar year, $50 per spot per calendar year if paid by November 30th, is going to be 25% of the net annual revenue per spot. Any questions? Okay. Next slide is special exceptions. This is regarding public hearings. It's going to, originally it was 3,800 slash 3,300 for amendment is going to $2,800. Appeal of administrative decision is it's going to be 1,000. It looks like it's staying the same. Okay, no, we were attempting to put the changes in, but I think some of these don't look like they're changing. Is there any reason why they're in there?
Joe, if I may.
Yes, please.
Podium. For the line item, where did it go here? Special exceptions. We had two charges for 3,800 and then you see 33. We did away with the 3,300 under the current fee, and the new fee just carries over to 3,800. It should be 3,800, not 2,800. Yep.
Now, since you're up there, Frank, I got a question about this one since we're kind of stalled on that one. I know we had talks about when it comes to special exceptions for, say, someone that was putting a fence back that was previously existing, for them to have to pay $3,800 seemed a little weird. Remember, serves me, we had discussions about potentially finding a tiered level based on the cost of the project. Is that
Right.
something we're still trying to go down the rabbit hole to figure out?
We kind of are, but in this case here, we're dealing with the packaging of a special exception. You don't need a special exception to put back an existing fence in an existing spot. You know, if you're changing the outline or if you're changing the dynamics of it and how it fits on the space, that's where you might have to come in for a special exception. So there is like the two different things here.
I don't know that that's 100% accurate, but I'll take you at your word on it. But I thought we have had cases where people have had to come in to get a special exception to put a fence back that was there because of current code changes that have changed since that fence was initially installed.
There
I'm
could be
just
other-
using one case.
There could be other circumstances where they may have needed a variance at one point, and that may not be an option at this point. There could be situations like that, yes, sir.
Okay.
But we are still trying to find a way to that path of charging by condition.
And I'm assuming that this fee is just to cover staff time?
It barely covers staff time, sir.
Okay.
Seems like a lot.
And I have some clarification regarding why it looks like some of these fees didn't change. It's because they were not included in the fee schedule before. They're not necessarily changing, but we're just making sure they're added to the fee schedule.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then the bottom one for town clerk, comprehensive plan, it had been cost plus 5% is limited by statute. Now that has been removed. Okay, now these are other fees. So personal watercraft vendor license, administration, license, enforcement. is going from $386 to $500.
Before we move, yeah, we've all got, we all got the emails on this one, Joe, and it was agreed upon about the 3% increase a year. Why is this going up 7.8%? Did it not happen last year or?
Thomas Yazzo, Fort Myers Beach Emergency Services Director. So we were trying to come in line with surrounding counties, surrounding municipalities with some of this, and it had not been raised. You had waived it at one point, so we're trying to come back online and bring it into a space where, as we move forward, it fits better with how we're moving forward. There's a lot of manpower that goes into monitoring these licenses. There's a lot of contention within the license. They're very limited. So we spend many hours trying to put it together. We have legal involved with it many times. So yes, we thought that would be a fair way to start and go with a 3% after that.
Tom, have you had a chance to sit down with any of the interested parties and hear their concerns?
I have.
Yeah.
I've had with several, yes.
Because we've heard from the Webbers, Faircloth, and Perry. Are those names familiar to you?
They are.
Okay. They also seem to express, and my colleagues will correct me if I'm wrong, they seem to be okay with enhancing the fines for those who are violating. But I think they envision themselves, and I think they've proved it over the years, they've got a pretty good reputation, but they're okay with going after the bad actors. What would that mean in terms of your world, Tom? Do you give many fines in that arena?
There are
many fines levied?
There are possibilities for fines, but there's also, as I said, they're very contentious. So it would take a lot more manpower to track some of this down, which honestly we don't have to go attack some of this sometimes. And we do try to satisfy their complaints against each other as best we can. And we try to move forward with that. So we thought this was a fair movement forward to make it more equitable as we see across the rest of the state, which we're still a lot less than most that we're seeing, especially in either Gulf Coast townships and cities and the Atlantic side as well.
Help me with this, Tom, because you are asking for an increase in the penalties, the violations.
Yes, sir.
So
so with that being said, again, we do our best to try to go after those things. We're hoping that the increase in the penalties will discourage the bad actors, as you guys described them. So that's our goal there.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I can appreciate that. But again, we've all in the past agreed to the 3% increase, and I can't support anything going up above that. And again, with these folks, they're more than happy to have you increase the penalties.
Yes, sir. Again, this is a tentative plan, and it's at your pleasure.
Thank you.
I guess what I'm trying to look at here, Tom, is to John's point. There was a lot of time and energy put into getting everybody to agree on the 3% increase, and if what you're saying is we're going to continue the 3% increase, but that whatever that number would be between the what is it, $60, $70, is that going to make a huge difference? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, to continue with the 3%. So the 500 would be 3.5% less than that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, is it going to make a difference in our whole budget? No, sir, it's not. But it was a starting point for us to try to equalize. But again, it's a tentative plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe in what you're saying. I'm wondering if, again, in the grand scheme of things, if we're talking 11 licenses and it's
Right.
30,
And we made a
$60, $70
commitment.
a piece.
Yeah, we made a commitment to only raise it 3%.
Yeah, so I would like to see that 500 adjusted from the 386 plus the 3%, which it's long beyond. I'm not pulling out a calendar. You guys figure it out.
I understand. Yep.
Yes, sir.
$9, yeah.
I understand guidance from the council. Taken. We can adjust that back.
$12.
Yeah, it's not,
Yep.
and if you feel that increasing, and to your point, Vice Mayor, every one of them have reached out to us and said they would support increasing the penalties
Right.
for those that are choosing to do things that they shouldn't be doing. I can get behind that.
Maybe make it up in the penalty part,
Mhm.
the difference. So instead of raising from 25 to 100, you raise it to 125. From 150 to 500, you raise it to 550.
Absolutely.
make it up that way.
We can restructure the numbers and get it to where what you're asking.
Thank you.
Okay. So I assume that goes through down to beach raking permit.
Yeah.
So
Which
that's
is
going.
another one.
Is it, okay, so that's a fee for $25 per property, going up to $500 per property.
Which I'm not the smartest person in the world math-wise, maybe a little smarter than Ed Ryan, but I checked and I hope my figures are right, but it looks like that's a 1,900% increase.
Well, the other thing too, these property owners are maintaining this and they're getting these permits and they're actually maintaining the beach for us and I don't think FWC or DEP,
FDEP doesn't charge.
they don't charge anything. So they're maintaining their beaches for us, but yet we're increasing their fee substantially. So I don't understand that.
I guess I'd go a little step, if they're getting a permit through the agency that monitors that, why do they still need a permit through the town?
I would agree.
Chad's not here anymore. I mean, is there some sort of monitoring that we have to do on top of it, and that's what this fee is to cover?
I know Joe doesn't know the answer to that, and I think we're looking around. So that's a mistake, clearly. I don't know, and I definitely don't know the answer to where the fee came from in the first place. But so that's a due out we owe back to you, council members.
So then I think just to be able to move it
You
forward,
can
we'll
strike
just,
it.
we'll keep it at the current
rate.
until the next
We'll
budget.
keep it at the current rate, yes, and we'll get you an answer on.
So beach
the other
raking
question.
would stay the same as. the
Until we have an answer as to the reason for the increase.
Right.
Thank you.
Understood.
Hurricane reentry replacement pass would now have a $10 charge. Beach furniture vendor license first year. Maybe this is the same issue, I don't know, but it's $124 now. It's being proposed to raise to $300. Beach furniture vendor license renewal, the same, would go from $124 to $300. Beach furniture vendor license late fee after October 1st would go from $25 to $100.
All right, anyone complain about that?
So now we're into Bay Oaks Recreation Campus membership. I don't know, Jeff, would you prefer to talk through these? Or I could read them.
Yeah, so we just did some slight increases on them. One of the things with the annual membership for a resident is that it did go up $15, but that's going to include pickleball and the other amenities. Before, they would have to come in. The approved fee schedule for last year was and actually for the last since I've been here, even if you had a membership or a pass to get in, you still had to pay the $5 pickleball fee. So we just increased that a little bit as far as the membership goes, but pickleball will be included. You don't have to pay $5 every time you go in. So I think over time, especially with the pickleball players, and also with open gym basketball and volleyball, same thing. If you're a member, you get those amenities on top of that. So I think the $15 value will be a good value once you include it, not having to pay the $5 every time you go play indoor pickleball or pay $5 to play open basketball, those kind of things. So
That's a good clarification. That's a good clarification because the people were worried that there was an increase, plus they were still going to pay their $5 per session for
Yeah.
their pickleball.
And honestly, it helps the staff out. Every time they come in, they got to, pay $5 and that. So I think it's just a good amenity to have. We haven't had the rec center open, a full year for a long time, for years. And then I think that was just a good compromise to have them use the amenities that they can. And I guess just going down the line, just minimal changes, if that. Not too much there on that one. So we can go to the next slide, unless you guys have questions. This next one, the only thing I want to clarify is you can see the fees for the after school program. It does say in there, and it might be a little confusing on the way, we must have missed some numbers on the sheet, where it says youth club rec during school, and it says per semester. We only have the $350 a year. Now, we had two in my proposal. We had two, so it would be $200 a semester, which would be an increase just because of the services going up. Or you could pay $350 a year and get that $50 discount. And then we went from a non-member $275 per semester or $400 for the whole year, and those are really good prices. So comparative to going to after school programs at the school or the YMCA, those kind of things. So I did compare Sanibel Rec Center with that too. So we are still under that as far as that goes.
If you could, by the next meeting, just clean up some of the language, because it can be confusing.
Yep.
Per semester, and then it's a year over there. Which one is it?
That's why in my original one, it didn't get transferred on here very well. But some just want to pay per semester. They only are going to be around. They only want to pay for half the year. Maybe they have
So you're providing both options.
Either option.
Got it.
Yeah, you'll
Okay.
just save some
I
money
misunderstood.
if you pay for the whole year. So you save $50 if you're a resident or a member. If you pay for the year, and then you save even more. I mean, you save when you pay the $275 per semester and the $400 a year. So you'll have that savings. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. We are going to eliminate, like I said, the pickleball or volleyball day passes to zero. We are still going to be doing BOSS programs. That's going to be actual cost plus, I believe I don't know if it's in this one, but cost plus $4 for transportation that we do. So it's actually more if I don't know why it's not in here.
Is it the next slide?
What's that?
Oh, I was wondering if it's on the next slide.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. No, it's not on here. Senior trips. Yeah. It'll be 100% recovery for the residents, and then 100% cost recovery plus $8 for non-residents. So we don't have that extra $4 anymore for the resident. So yeah, that's about it for Bay Oaks. Any questions?
Okay. Then this is touching on permit fees now. Frankie, would you like to help out with that?
Sure. So basically what we looked at is a couple of different municipalities around here try to use a uniform size and shape. So Estero and Benita, they're all over the board on different permits and what you're looking for. The simple approach we just did here is just take everything up by $10 to make it more feasible for the department and to keep us in, well, not really in line with others that are almost hundreds of dollars more, but at least to try to get us moving forward. So if you look through these, that's basically all we did was add $10 to our current permit fees that had been established for a number of years now.
Frank, do you think $10 is enough?
That's what I was just trying to do.
Well, again, what is too much and what is not enough. So, I mean, we honestly did this in a way where we took and packaged things, the large ticket items, to try to make that more, not affordable, but more easily handled by somebody coming in that needed a ton of different things. The people that are coming through on a daily basis, we're not here to kick them in the knees. These are things that we can easily get with the staff that we have and get them functioning and moving them forward. So most of the things, by raising them up $10, we're not talking about extensive reviews, those type of situations. We kind of ran into a buzzsaw this year just with the FEMA CAV, where it took some staff away, integral staff, that would normally be doing a daily review type regimen. But I think these are in line where we need to be. And if we just keep on upping maybe $10 every 2 years, we'll have to just wait and see on where that is. But I think we're in line where we need to be for our town. Definitely take direction. I mean, if you want us to take a harder look and go higher, you're not going to get a scream out of me. It's just hard to say apples and apples when you look at a typical permit for a condo on our island. Just say for, what is the one up there? Carpet and garage flat fee. Our carport and garage flat fee. If you go to Cape Coral, that same fee or that permit there can be upwards of $1,000. So, you have to kind of look at where we're at, what we're trying to accomplish. Our goal here is to build back and get the people back in their homes and functioning as a town. And then we can start assessing some of the things slowly as we progress forward. And that's kind of what my thought process was.
You feel comfortable with it and your staff feels comfortable with the recommended changes, I'm comfortable with it.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know. I still think it's maybe too low. I mean, I would love to see it if it was $25 increase, and based on the number of permits that we've had, what kind of income would that give us?
We can break it. We have broke it down. Georgina, our community development manager, and I have kind of looked at this really good as far as grouping them into what was the most requested permits. Again, coming from 23 to 24, we were here. 24, we kind of now we've kind of plateaued. But as more of the condos come back online, and it's more of the building structures themselves are approved and the homeowners move back into those condos, they're going to be coming in and doing some of the upgrade permits because they've been out of them for a number of years now. And we understand that. So there's going to be a spike in some of them, but I'll definitely take any direction. If you feel they're too low, then we can actually go back and reassess and come back to you with a better vision of the breakdown and what we think would be feasible moving forward.
I'd be comfortable with 25 instead of 10.
Okay.
John? Oh, sorry, John?
I'm comfortable with the original proposal.
Jim?
I would defer to you on that, Frankie. I just want to make sure it reflects our actual cost.
It's again,
I know it's
you're
hard.
not in here to make money, right? We're in here to function as a community and get people what they
That's right.
need. Our only problem with looking at some of these is where is that line of demarcation? Where are you going to assess one permit more money or more fee gathering than another one when they all have to go through the basic process? The ones that like Councilor Woodson is proposing, if we did take it up to the $25, those would be the ones that I would recommend that we have to do a full staff review on. That it may not take but a few hours of staff time, but it has to have the eyes of all the different disciplines: planning, zoning, environmental, flood. Those are the ones where you go through the chain, and if they require that type of stuff, I'm all for taking that up. Just because of the nuances involved in getting it through those stages. You've all gotten the emails, hey, where's my permit and such, and it might be hung up here, it might be hung up here. Those are the reasons why, because they're taking that time to look at it. Chad looks at stuff that other people don't. So, and the same with our floodplain coordinator. She looks at stuff that other people don't. I'd be willing to go back and look at the more complex permits that require more eyes on it, and definitely take that, and I can get your report back to you by the time we do this next time.
We all, I think we all were here. Maybe Scott wasn't here yet. Maybe he was. I can't remember. But there was a time where we gave everybody some grace on these permit fees right after the storm. I still think it was the right thing to do. But we're now at a stage where we just want to make sure that it generates the appropriate amount of revenue for you to give them excellent service. And so I would defer to you on that, Frank.
And we also waived right after, I believe, Helene and Milton for drywall permits because
Yeah,
there
we
was
did.
there was a lot of people coming in.
We did.
So
We
not
waived
only
all
did,
those.
for a brief moment, we waived, and then we just went ahead and issued the trade price, which is a static price, not based on square footage.
'Cause I think.
So we've done that a few times, and that was kind of a hiccup when Joe came back and the Goldman Wolf was looking at it. And I remember Carolyn from that staff came and said, why was there such a dramatic drop off in such and such a period? Well, it was during that time when we were trying to help the residents get their stuff back.
I think, and I don't want to speak for everybody because I know some folks are concerned about permit fees, but at the same time, if they pay what it actually costs and they're getting excellent service, we don't hear a lot of griping. So we want you to charge whatever is necessary to give them excellent service.
So we will definitely put our noses back to the grindstone here and come back with some realistic numbers for you then.
Well, let me ask you this. You talked about complexities. Is that complexity because of the permit applicant or because of what we are having to go through? Where's the
It's a combination of both. It could be what is asked for in that permit, but it's also the amount of eyes that have to go through to generate that permit to get it to be issued.
But then now we're taking it out on the applicant because of what we have to do internally. I can see if it's something that is a complex permit application that yes, that should justify that cost. But if it's something that we're doing internally,
No,
that would
I
bother
think,
me.
John, we're talking the same thing. It is because of that complex permit that requires more staff time to do it.
I understand. Who
So
makes it complex? The applicant?
The
or-
applicant by coming in here
Okay,
and
that's-
asking for a lot of different things in
Okay.
in a packet.
All right.
That's what is requiring the staff time.
Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Well, and it could be the applicant didn't supply all the information and you have to review it 2 times or 3 times. So I think you're on the right path. I think you've got direction to take a look at the ones that you've seen the most issues with and adjust these fees accordingly.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, there's actually more, Frankie, but.
It's all, I think.
Yeah, they're all the same.
I think it's all, the answer would be
The same guidance will most
Yeah.
likely apply.
Same guidance all the way through.
The guidance is the same,
Yeah,
Joe,
we're
all the
good.
way through.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's a good way to put it. Yes.
Okay.
Sit down,
So-
Frankie.
Okay. And then, okay, I guess that's, oh no, there's more. All right,
For now.
okay, I guess that would be the end of the presentation.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe or other staff on any of these proposed fees? John?
None.
Jim?
No.
Karen?
No.
Scott?
No, sir.
All right. Is someone prepared to make a motion on resolution 25-264 fiscal year 26 tentative fee schedule based on the amended changes discussed today?
So moved.
Got a motion by Counselor King,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Safford.
Public comment.
Public comment. Anyone? Cliff, you want to come and say something again? Or we lose power?
For another 3 minutes.
You're done.
Seeing none, we'll close public comment. We got a motion by Counselor King, seconded by Counselor Safford. Any further discussion? Counselor King,
Aye.
Counselor Safford,
Aye.
Counselor Woodson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Adderholt, and I'm
Aye.
an aye as well. That motion carries unanimously. That brings us to our final public comment. Anyone care to speak in final public comment? Yes, sir. Come on up.
As a citizen here.
You got to come up to the mic, sir.
I've been here 4
I
hours.
was surprised you sat there the first time we're going to hear from you. You got to state your name, sir, for the record.
You all have to talk a little bit louder. I'm losing my hearing. I guess a lot of us are.
What?
But it's the first time I'm at a meeting.
You got to state
What?
your name for the record.
State your name for the record, please.
Oh, I'm Michael J. Gutierrez from New York, but I've been living here for 28 years. I retired in 2003. It's a wonderful place. I'd just like to compliment you all on the way you conducted this meeting. That's why I came here. I wanted to see how my local government works. And I got an education tonight. I didn't know who you are. I know who you are. I know everybody here. I know what your jobs are, and you're doing a very good job. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. What a nice way to end it.
Can I ask him a question? Do you go back to New York for an accent renewal program?
Did you say I talk like Robert De Niro? No, he talks like me.
There you
I'm
go.
from Brooklyn. He's from Manhattan.
There you go.
I think you're better looking. You know, you're taller.
New York, NYPD?
All right.
The Bronx. The Bronx. You're retired?
I'm retired.
My son's retiring in December. I want him to come here.
Bring him on.
Good.
I only go
Bring 'em.
back to New York to visit now.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in public comment?
Again, I can't hear you.
No, just said thank
Oh,
you.
all right.
Said I'm going to the Bronx.
Forget about
All
it.
right, I'll close public comment. With that, is a motion to adjourn.
I would just like to thank staff for your efforts here tonight. Thanks for your late night and move to adjourn.
All right, got a motion to adjourn. Any further discussion?